Chapter 300. When Fang Yen returned to the Xianxia Hotel and was about to open the door of the room next door suddenly opened. Xiaozhi, wearing a set of white casual clothes, stood at the door, poked his head out and said, "I made a pot of pu'er tea. Do you want to come over and have a drink?" "I'm a little tired. I'll go back and take a bath," Fang Yen said. "Then I'll wait for you. When are you coming? I'll help you soak it up." Xia Kiki smiled as she looked at Fang Yen and said firmly. Fang Yen knew that he couldn't hide, so he turned around and walked in front of Xiaozhi, saying, "Then let's try your craft first. If I didn't insist, would you be unwilling to come over?" Xiaozhi knew Fang Yan's mentality like the back of his hand. He let Fang Yen in and said, "I have something to ask you." Pu'er tea was indeed brewed in Xiaozhi, but the tea was slightly cold, and the taste was already the second tea. Fang Yen looked at Xiaozhi, who said matter-of-factly, "I drank the first one myself. The taste is a little light, you won't like it, but it suits my taste. The second one was the best. It was originally prepared to be used to entertain guests. I knocked on the door and you weren't in the room, so it was cold. I poured it out. Using the third tea to entertain you won't make you feel wronged, right?" "Of course not." Fang Yen watched Xiaozhi's slender hands pour out the herbal tea in the teacup, and then pour in warm water to soak it again. After Fang Yen held a cup of hot tea in his hand and tasted it, Xiaozhi asked, "What's going on with that snake?" Fang Yen looked at Xiaozhi and asked with a wry smile, "What did you find?" "I didn't find anything before. I thought it was just an accident, and that the green snake that hit my calf was just a coincidence," Xiaozhi said. "But when we were eating, a second snake appeared, and it was such a strange poisonous snake. I felt that something was wrong. Some time ago, when I was rehearsing at Xiaxia Mountain, I also encountered snakes, but those snakes turned around and ran away when they saw people, and I couldn't catch up. Unlike the two poisonous snakes today, who actually knew how to sneak attack and pretend to be dead, Fang Yen would never underestimate a woman's IQ. The women around him, whether it was Lu Chaoga, Qin Etian, or even his childhood sweetheart, Phoenix, who had failed in his first love, were all extremely smart. Although Yi Ro was a bit barbaric and violent, no one dared to say that she wasn't smart. How could an unintelligent woman have such a high level of martial arts cultivation at such a young age? Therefore, Fang Yen decided to be honest. "Are you thinking too much?" Fang Yen said. "Someone was struck by lightning twice in a day. Such unlucky things can happen. What's the big deal about encountering two snakes in a day?" "Fang Yen, you're not honest." Xia looked at Fang Yen and said, "Just as you said, even if we can't be a couple, we're still friends, right? Shouldn't friends be honest?" "Haven't you heard of white lies?" Fang Yen asked helplessly. Smart women should abide by the rule of silence at the right time, which Xia didn't do well. Xia's expression became serious and said, "Are you worried that they will kill me?" "Xia, I don't know where you come from, but I know that you know Lanshan Valley, and you seem to have a good relationship with them. I can also see the fear of you in the eyes of Song Go and the others. I know that you have an extraordinary background, and that you can smash a big hole in the floor if you throw out your father's name or your father's father's name. However, there is such a group of people in this world, and the power of the city has no restraints on them. If you want to know, I can tell you everything. If you want to be lazy, we can talk about other topics." "Fang Yen, you underestimate me." Xia looked at Fang Yen sternly and said, "Just as you said, because my family is still passable, my father or my father's father is also somewhat famous, so I have been exposed to a wide range of things since I was young. Strange. I have heard a lot of anecdotes and seen a lot of hidden experts. I know that there is a group of people in this world who are not bound by the secular world or even the law. They can't ignore the law, and they are bold and reckless. They don't care about fame and fortune, and they don't even care about life and death. They are scary, but this is not a reason for me to escape. I don't care who they are, and I don't care what they might do to me in the future. Just because they almost made me fall off the cliff and die, he owes me an explanation, owes my parents an explanation, and owes my Xia family an explanation. Fang Yan, they owe me an explanation. Xia said with a voice like a knife. Slash after slash, the air and the atmosphere were broken into pieces, no longer complete and harmonious. Which child of an aristocratic family doesn't have a little arrogance? Some people show their arrogance on their faces, so they become the idiots that everyone crushes. Some people hide their arrogance in their hearts, so many people praise them for not putting on airs. Xia belongs to the kind of people who put their arrogance in their hearts. She put her arrogance in her heart, but it didn't mean that she was willing to be bullied. Before she understood what happened, she just thought that it was an accident. She put all her gratitude on Fang Yan. However, when she realized that it was a blatant murder, she was furious. Her feelings were divided into two: one was gratitude to Fang Yan, and the other was hatred for the murderer. No one can take away her life at will. Although for the killer, she was just a chess piece that others wanted to deal with Fang Yan. Fang Yan understood what she was thinking. He sighed softly and said, "His name is Snake Lord, and he comes from Xiangxi. If you want revenge, now is the right time. He is injured." Xia pursed her lips and smiled, saying, "You heard him? Not me. It's someone else." Xia thought for a moment and said, "It seems that it's the Zhenren who wants to accept you as a disciple. It's really not a lucky thing for a woman to be too smart." Fang Yan said with emotion again. A senior said that a woman with great wisdom like a demon will either become a mistress or a nun. "I know who the senior you are talking about is." Xia giggled and said. Fang Yan asked with a smile, "Who do you think it is?" "The Shen family's fairy, soars into the sky to pick the clouds. Have you heard of this sentence?" The smile on Fang Yan's face slowly froze, turning into an exquisite-looking genuine leather mask. "There is no banquet in the world that never ends." This sentence is very tacky, because such cases happen every day. Xia brought Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin back to shoot a music video. After 2 days of hard work, one day was used to shoot the video, and the other day was used to shoot some special scenes. The preliminary work was basically over. The post-editing and production had nothing to do with Fang Yan, and it would not be done in Hua City. There was an exclusive production company in Beijing in the summer. Of course, Fang Yan also made a request to Xia. After the video was cut, he had to review it. If it did not meet his aesthetic standards, he had the right to ban the video. Everyone was well aware of what Fang Yan's aesthetic standards were. He was busy with work in the summer, so he flew to Xiangtan to participate in a charity song. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were supposed to go back to Beijing with the group, but the two girls were reluctant to leave. Jiang Qin asked for a leave of absence from Xia, hoping to stay at home with his parents for a day. Xia was kind, so he naturally agreed. Thus, Jiang Qin, who had obtained Xia's permission, secretly ran to Fang Yan and asked Fang Yan to agree to one of her requests. "What request?" Fang Yan asked. "Go shopping with me," Jiang Qin said. Fang Yan had a headache and said, "We are an adult and a child. If we walk together, someone will definitely scold me for eating young grass. Why don't you find someone else? Isn't Yuan Lin fine? Ask her to go shopping with you, okay?" When we were in Beijing, the two of us would go shopping almost every day. "Who wants her to accompany me?" "I want you to accompany me." "Can you accompany me?" "Mr. Fang, please, give me a reason." Fang Yan was unmoved. "I want to buy a gift for my dad." "You can help me with it," Jiang Qin said. "Where did you get the money?" "Stupid teacher. Didn't Yuan Lin and I participate in Sister Xia's MV? We both have to get paid," Jiang Qin said proudly. "I used to spend my parents' money. This is the first time I have earned money myself." So, the first thing I want to do when I get the money is to buy a gift for my parents. Seeing the girl's innocent and sincere smile, Fang Yan's heart was moved. He smiled and said, I don't know how many people want to shoot a music video for Xia Tian. She not only brought the two of you in but also paid you. Just because of your filial piety, I promise you. However, I know you only have one day off. So, you have to stay at home with your parents all day tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I will go shopping with you. If you accept my conditions, I will agree to your request. Jiang Qin stretched out his finger and said happily, Come, let's pinky swear. Pinky swear. Don't change for 100 years. Fang Yan didn't pinky swear with her. Who wouldn't change for 100 years with this kind of kid? Fang Yan had just walked to the school gate when the phone in his pocket rang. He looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Huang Haoran. He asked, Haoran, what's the matter? Mr. Fang, not good. Huang Haoran's voice was very anxious. The boys in our class fought with others. Fight? With who? Fang Yan asked anxiously. Is anyone injured? With students from Ivy High School. Huang Haoran said. 2 people were injured and have been sent to the hospital. Fang Yan had an urge to pinch those bastards to death. You are a student. Your occupation is to study hard and make progress every day. Why are you fighting? What's there to fight? If you want to fight, come fight with me. Go fight with Tangcheng. Which hospital? Fang Yan asked while gritting his teeth. Chapter 301. As soon as Fang Yan hung up the phone, someone shouted in his ear, Mr. Fang, what are you doing? Baldy, no, Captain Kai was standing behind Fang Yan with a smile, looking at Fang Yan as if he was looking at his lover. Fang Yan quickly took 2 steps back and said, Captain Kai, what's up? Don't call me Captain Kai, just call me Baldy. It's friendly, Baldy said generously. He looked at Fang Yan and asked, Mr. Fang, are you going back for dinner? I'm going back. Fang Yan nodded. Hurry up and go back, Baldy said. I just saw Zhang Chen go in through this door. He must be going to your house. Fang Yan immediately understood. Baldy had come over to get close to him because he wanted to freeload a meal at his house. Although Zhang Chen had successfully become Fang Yan's disciple, he still came to Fang Yan, Fang Yingying, and Fang Haohan from time to make a meal to improve their lives. It had to be said that Zhang Chen's cooking skills were quite good. It could be said to be professional. Baldy became a frequent guest after spending 2 free meals at Fang Yan's house. Many times he came uninvited. Fang Yan looked at Baldy with a bitter smile and said, You should go home for dinner. I just received a call, something happened to the students. Something happened. Baldy was a school security guard, so he was quite sensitive to the safety of students. What happened? A few students from my class fought with students from Evergreen High School. 2 others were injured and hospitalized. Fang Yan explained as he walked quickly to the side of the road, ready to hail a taxi. I have to go to the hospital. Baldy grabbed Fang Yan and said, Don't wait. It's rush hour now. You might not be able to hail a cab even if you wait for 2 hours. Let's go, I'll drive you. Fang Yan was shocked and said, Baldy, you bought a car? I bought it a long time ago, Baldy said arrogantly as he ran to the school gate. Fang Yan sighed in his heart. He thought to himself that the job of a school security guard was very lucrative. He could buy a car even without a rank. This is the car you bought? Fang Yan roared angrily. That's right. Baldy drove the car on the road, rampaging through the traffic and the sea of people like a fish diving into the sea, like a bird diving into the forest. Fang Yan thought that he might as well strangle the Baldy to death. In any case, when he saw those bastards fighting later, he would strangle a few of them to death. Killing one was killing a group was also killing. Baldy held the handlebars and nimbly avoided 2 young couples crossing the road. He explained to Fang Yan, who was sitting in the back without saying a word, The whole city is congested now. Only my car can run fast. From his explanation, Fang Yen could actually hear a faint sense of aloofness and pride. When they arrived at the entrance of the affiliated hospital, Baldy stopped the car and said, "You go find your students first. I'll find a place to park. There are more and more cars these days, and it's hard to find a parking space." Fang Yen jumped out of the back seat of the electric car. Baldy's short legs scratched the ground, and then he drove the electric car in the direction of the car shed. Fang Yen quickly ran to the inpatient department, and as he ran, he called Huang Haoren. "Which floor?" "Room 301 on the 3rd floor." "Okay, I'll go there now." "Their teacher is coming?" "Okay, you guys stay here first. I'll be there soon." Fang Yen didn't wait for the crowded elevator, and he ran directly to the 3rd floor. The entrance to the corridor was room 301, and Huang Haoren was already waiting at the staircase. It wasn't a big deal for Fang Yen to joke around with the students normally, but when the students made a mistake, he had to take it seriously and punish them severely. If you don't take this matter to heart, then they won't even consider it a big deal. They would do even more outrageous things in the future. Thus, Fang Yen walked in front of Huang Haoren with a straight face, and asked in a deep voice, "How did you fight? Why did you fight with them?" "Mr. Fang, they went too far." Huang Haoren saw that Fang Yen was angry, and he explained with a red face. "How did they go too far? Didn't Tangqing represent our school in the Huaqing High School basketball tournament? When the finals were held in the Huaqing Stadium, Tangqing had a conflict with the captain of the Ivy League high school basketball team. You know how strong Tangqing is. At that time, the captain didn't get any advantage, so he held a grudge. Today, when Tangqing and we were having afternoon tea at Baishatang, the basketball captain also brought his team over. When he saw that he had the advantage in numbers, he deliberately called our Rosefinch High School trash, saying that we were all trash produced by a trash school. He also called Mr. Fang. "What did they call me?" Fang Yen asked. Huang Haoren opened his mouth, but didn't dare to say anything. "What did they call me?" Fang Yen pressed. "They said that Mr. Fang relied on a woman to get his position, and then formed cliques in the school to fight against dissidents. A lot of teachers are dissatisfied with you, and are just waiting for an opportunity." Huang Haoren carefully said this sentence. "I didn't say that, it was their basketball captain who said it." "What's the name of their basketball captain?" Fang Yen asked. "Ma Haitao. With Tangqing there, the injured person must be from the Ivy League high school, right?" "Yes," Huang Haoren said embarrassedly. "They called us trash, and Tangqing called them worse than trash." A group of them surrounded us and wanted to beat us up, but Tangqing rushed out alone and knocked them all down. After knocking them down, Tangqing said, "Look, you guys are worse than trash, right?" Fang Yen was full of guilt. He felt that it was all his fault. He let all his students learn how to taunt. When Tangqing first entered the 9th class, he was such an upright and stupid child. How did he become like this in such a short time? Originally, there were only 2 injured people in the hospital, but Ma Haitao also said that his whole body was in pain after arriving at the hospital. He said that his internal organs were injured, and he needed to do a full body checkup. He was also lying on the hospital bed. "He's trying to blackmail us." "Where's Tangqing?" Fang Yen asked. "He went home," Huang Haoren said. Fang Yen was so angry that he stomped his feet. This bastard, after injuring someone, he ran home to hide? Who are you going to ask to clean up your mess? However, based on Fang Yan's understanding of Tangqing, this kid was proud and arrogant. When someone came to provoke him, he thought that it was natural to teach them a lesson. Who would be willing to follow behind him and send him to the hospital? After injuring someone, he went home to sleep. Only Tangqing would do such a thing. "Let's go in and take a look," Fang Yen said. Fang Yen followed Huang Haoren into the ward. The boys in the 9th class lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at Fang Yan's eyes. In the corner stood 2 tall boys. They stared fiercely at Fang Yen, who had just walked in. There were 3 boys lying on the hospital bed. Two of them were playing mobile games, and the other one was buried in sleep. When they saw Fang Yan come in, they only raised their eyelids and then went back to their own things. Fang Yan walked in front of the big boy on the far left who was playing mobile games and said, "Classmate, how do you feel? Who are you? Go away, don't disturb Grandpa when he's playing games. Let me tell you, Rosefinch, this matter isn't over. Just you wait, there will be a time for you to suffer," the big guy said with a rude and unreasonable expression. "How can you talk like that? What's wrong with me talking like that?" The big guy threw the phone in his hand on the quilt and said with a sneer, "What? Do you want to fight? I don't believe that you dare to beat me up in this hospital. Let me tell you, if you dare to beat up a student in the hospital, my friend will immediately put the video on the internet and wait for your Rosefinch to become famous all over the country. When that time comes, you guys will also become famous and become the shame of the students all over the country. Do you want to try? It's not a big deal for me to be beaten up. I'm just afraid that you won't dare to take it." Fang Yan looked at the big guy and sighed softly. He said, "If I make a move, do you think they will have the chance to take out their phones to take pictures? Who do you think you are? Superman?" The guy who was pretending to sleep suddenly jumped up. Two purple marks appeared on his handsome face. It seemed that Tangqing had taken special care of him. "You Rosefinch people are all good at fighting, right? Come, hit me here. Do you have the ability to kill me? Why would I beat you to death? You're not my biological son or my godson. No matter how much of a bastard you are, it's your family's business. Why should I teach an unfilial son like you a lesson on behalf of your father?" "What did you say? Say it again if you dare. Although I don't think I have much ability, I'm not afraid of satisfying your special hobby. Why would I beat you to death? You're not my biological son or my godson. No matter how much of a bastard you are, it's your family's business. Why should I teach an unfilial son like you a lesson on behalf of your father?" Ma Haitao's eyes were bloodshot. He clenched his fists and was about to rush toward Fang Yan. "Haitao, stop!" A thin and tall boy wearing glasses hurriedly stopped him. "Liang Lian, why won't you let me beat him up?" Ma Haitao shouted angrily. "If you beat him up, you'll fall into his trap," Liang Lian quickly explained. "Before, they were the ones who beat us up. We didn't fight back. If you beat him up now, it'll be a group fight. When that time comes, we'll all get beaten up. Wouldn't we be at a disadvantage?" Ma Haitao thought about it and forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart. He pointed at Fang Yan and said, "Kid, it's not over between us. Just you wait, don't walk alone at night." Fang Yan stared at this guy with his eyes wide open. Did he want to beat him up with a stick? Huang Haoran, Gao Lei, and a few other boys from Class 9 also looked at Ma Haitao in surprise. Was this guy crazy? How dare he pick on Mr. Fang? What should they say? Welcome? At that moment, there was the sound of hurried footsteps at the door of the ward. Chapter 302. The footsteps were hurried. It seemed that the person who came was quite angry. A middle-aged male teacher with a tilted head walked in angrily. Seeing Huang Haoran, Fang Yan, and the others standing at the door of the ward, he started scolding them. "Do you have any manners? Your teacher didn't teach you how to fight. What's wrong with that? Why are your manners so bad? How did good students end up in the hospital after being beaten up by you? Do you know who you beat up? They are all specially recruited students of the Ivy League. Your Rosefinch Secondary is not bad, but compared to our Ivy League, you're not even qualified to carry our shoes. Let me tell you, this matter is not over. No matter who from your school comes, this matter will not be over. It's useless for you to apologize. It's useless even if your teacher comes. Your school has to apologize. Your Rosefinch High apologizes to Ivy League High." There was also a slightly older man standing behind the middle-aged man. He seemed to be one of the leaders of the Ivy League High School. Huang Haoran and the other boys in Class 9 did not say a word, allowing the middle-aged teacher to attack them. For them, if the sky fell, there would be a tall person to hold it up. With teacher Fang Yan here, how could they be at a disadvantage? Lin Yubin thought that Huang Haoren and the others were silent because they were timid in front of the teacher, but he didn't know that these guys were all cunning and waiting to watch a good show. Lin Yubin was probably tired of scolding them. He pointed at the tallest Fang Yan and said, "Is there anyone on your side who can solve the problem? If there's no one, I'll call your headmaster." "Coming," Fang Yan said with a smile. He took a step forward and pointed at himself. "I'll solve the problem." Seeing Fang Yan step forward, Lin Yubin and Fang Jianhong were a little stunned. Who was this young man? Was this the attitude of Rosefinch Secondary in dealing with this matter? Letting a student solve the problem? It was because they mistook Fang Yan for Rosefinch's student that Lin Yubin pointed at his face and scolded him for a long time. Lin Yubin and Fang Jianhong flew into a rage, feeling that they had been insulted. The few Ivy League students also had strange expressions on their faces. Could this guy be a student cadre? What made him think that he could erase a case of assault? Who would give him face? "Who are you?" Lin Yubin stared at Fang Yan and asked. "I am their homeroom teacher, Fang Yan," Fang Yan said with a serious expression. The conflict between students from two different schools was a serious matter. Fang Yan had to handle it carefully. Otherwise, the school's reputation might be tarnished. It even caused a conflict between the two famous schools. "I can handle this matter on their behalf." "You're the full representative?" This time, Fang Jianhong couldn't hold it in any longer. "What right do you have to represent them? You and I are not on the same level. Ask your dean to come over." Fang Yan looked at Fang Jianhong and said, "I don't think this matter has anything to do with position. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Could it be that this matter is right if our school's principal comes? Just because you're the head of teaching and I'm just an ordinary teacher, this matter is wrong? If everything is right and wrong based on the importance of position and rank, then what's the use of us teachers? What do the students need us to teach?" Huang Haoren and the others, who understood Fang Yan's personality, looked at each other and then quickly separated. They knew that teacher Fang Yan was going to play dirty again. "You," Fang Jianhong looked at Fang Yan mockingly and said, "What a sharp-tongued teacher. Just because you know how to talk, Rosefinch High School sent you over to solve the problem? Aren't they looking down on our Ivy League too much?" Lin Yubin laughed coldly and said, "I won't talk to you, I won't talk to you. If your school's leaders don't come, we will seal up the medical records of these students and send them to the Department of Education. I don't believe that the Department of Education won't give us Ivy League students justice. When that time comes, your Rosefinch High School will definitely have a hard time, right?" Fang Yan sighed softly and said, "Aren't you going too far by doing this?" "Going too far?" Fang Jianhong said with a smile. "Your students injured our students and hospitalized them. Who's going too far? The doctors can prove whether your students are injured or not," Fang Yan said. "But as a teacher, shouldn't you at least understand the cause and effect of the matter after coming here? You didn't ask anything and just grabbed Rosefinch's students and scolded them. Is this how you deal with the problem? Our students were seriously injured and hospitalized. Do you still need to ask about the cause and effect? Even if there's a dispute, you can't just hit people, right? Who allowed them to hit people? Who gave them the right to do so? Let me tell you, if you don't expel these students who hit people, we will take the case to the Department of Education," Fang Jianhong said angrily. "Director Fang, there's another culprit, his name is Tang Qing. He's the one who hit people the most. He will also be expelled." Ma Haitao, who had been lying on the bed pretending to be dead, hurriedly got up and said something to Tang Qing when he heard that the students who hit people were going to be expelled. He hated Tang Qing to the core. This time, no matter what, he wouldn't let him get away with it. Tang Qing was such a jerk. He hid his face in front of the girl he liked. After that, He told his first love that such a beautiful girl being with such a scumbag was a form of self-defilement. He also asked for his first love's phone number. Even now, his first love was still infatuated with him. She didn't pick up his calls and didn't reply to his messages. He had a very bad feeling about this. He dared to run away after hitting people? This kind of student is really audacious. Fang Jianhong was so angry that his body was trembling. He didn't run away. He just felt that this kind of thing was very boring, Fang Yan said with a smile. Your students first cursed and insulted others, then wanted to hit people, in the end, they were injured by the person they wanted to hit. Now, they are lying in the hospital pretending to be dead. What kind of behavior is this? Shameless to the point of death? You're slandering me, Lin Yubin resolutely retorted. After hitting people, they still put all the blame on our students. Just thinking about it makes my heart cold. Whether it's like this or not, you can ask your students. Of course, I know that they definitely won't tell you the truth. You also don't want to believe the truth that you can't accept. You rushed here in a hurry. If you sincerely want to solve the problem, let's sit down and have a good discussion. Your students are responsible, and my students are also responsible. Whoever should be responsible should bear the responsibility, and whoever should be in the wrong should apologize. I will definitely not be partial to my students, but if you keep pestering us endlessly and want to overwhelm us in terms of momentum or prestige, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Director Fang, we didn't curse, nor did we take the initiative to hit people. It was Rosefinch's students who started it. Yes, that Tangqing thinks that he knows some kung fu, so he provoked us again and again. He even called us trash and said that Ivy League is a trash school, so we specialize in producing trash like us. Tangqing took a fancy to Zhao Lu, a girl from our school. He went up to Zhao Lu and asked for her phone number. Zhao Lu didn't give it to him, so he cursed at her. We couldn't stand it anymore, so we argued with him. These students from Ivy League came prepared. They had already discussed their lines, and were not afraid that Fang Yan would expose them. You make it sound better than a song, Fang Jianhong said disdainfully. Your students hurt people, but until now, I haven't seen you say a word of apology. Is this the attitude you have when dealing with problems? Director Fang, I would like to ask, from the beginning to the end, have you given me a chance to apologize? From the moment you appeared at the door of the hospital ward, you started to curse me and my students. Until now, have you discussed the truth of the matter with me? That's because you're not sincere enough. If you're sincere enough, you can also apologize when we scold you, Lin Yubin said. Fang Yan pointed at his face and said, What did you find on my face? What do you want to say? Lin Yubin said with an unfriendly look. He didn't care what he found on Fang Yan's face. Is there a word cheap written on my face? If not, why should I apologize to you when you scold me? It's fine if you don't want to apologize. Then wait until we hand over the evidence to the Department of Education. The Department of Education will punish you. At that time, the problem won't be solved with an apology. Fang Yan nodded and said, As you wish. I believe that the leaders of the Department of Education will clear our names. Fang Yan glanced at Huang Haoren and said, Let's go. Fang Yan turned around and left, not looking at Fang Jianhong, Lin Yubin, and the others anymore. Huang Haoren and the others hurriedly followed him out, leaving only the teachers and students of Ivy League in the ward. He left just like that? Lin Yubin said in disbelief as he pointed at Fang Yan's back. This Rosefinch High School is too arrogant, isn't it? Each of you write a confession letter and send it to the Department of Education with the medical records, Fang Jianhong said with a sinister smile. This time, Ivy League and Rosefinch will not rest until one of us is dead. Ma Haitao's face showed a proud expression and said, Director Fang, I'll call my father now. Ma Haitao's father worked in the Department of Education and was quite powerful. This was also the main reason why he could be specially recruited by Ivy League and not be expelled for causing trouble everywhere. Director Fong said with a face full of smiles, "Send my regards to Director Ma. Tell him that I'll visit him when he's free." "No problem," Ma Haitao said with a reserved smile. Ma Haitao called his father in front of everyone and pretended to be extremely wronged and said, "Dad, I've been bullied, you have to help me get justice." "Shut up." A dignified man's voice came from the other end of the phone. "I know what kind of shameful things you've done. Immediately apologize to Rosefinch's teachers and students. If they don't forgive you, I'll come back and break your legs." Ma Haitao's face was pale. This time, he was really scared sick. In order to show off that he had a director father, Ma Haitao deliberately put the phone on speaker. So, everyone heard Director Ma's words. Fang Jianhong's face was extremely ugly. How could this be? Chapter 303. Fang Jianhong was unwilling. He took the phone from Ma Haitao and bowed respectfully. "Hello, Director Ma, I'm Jianhong. I'm with Haitao. I think you have some kind of misunderstanding about the child? Haitao is the victim. He was injured without doing anything and is now receiving treatment in the hospital. Is Director Ma free? I want to rush over and report to you in person." Director Fang. Director Ma was no stranger to the school leaders of the Ivy League. His attitude softened a little. "Are you sure Ma Haitao didn't do anything? I know Haitao a little. If he did something wrong, he would confess to us teachers. But this time, he really felt wronged." His eyes are red. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Clearly, Director Ma was moved by Fang Jianhong. "What are you going to do?" Director Ma asked. "When the hospital's appraisal results are out, we want to send these medical records and the students' confessions to the education department," Fang Jianhong said. "No matter what, we have to get justice for the students of our school. We can't let them suffer losses. The students' thoughts are the simplest and most innocent, but they have a strong sense of right and wrong. If they were wrong this time, it would have a profound impact on their lives." In order to convince Director Ma to stand on his side, Fang Jianhong even used some knowledge from education. "If you don't help us get justice for your son, don't blame me when your son gives up on himself and goes down the wrong path." With Fang Jianhong's familiarity with Ma Haitao, this kid was already very crooked. His words would definitely come true. Director Ma naturally understood the meaning behind Fang Jianhong's words. He snorted and said, "Years of hard work can't withstand a small setback. Is there a problem with the teaching quality of the Ivy League school?" Fang Jianhong broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly tried to salvage the situation. "Director Ma, I'm just worried that this will happen. Haitao is your child and also my student. Who doesn't want him to get better and better? Don't you think so?" "I'll find out more about this," Director Ma said and hung up the phone. When Fang Jianhong returned the phone to Ma Haitao, he said with a strange expression, "Is someone pressuring your dad?" Ma Haitao had just called to talk about this matter, but he already knew about it and immediately said that he wanted to apologize. Which true god did they move? Lin Yubin said with a gloomy face, "Oppressing people with power, lawless and out of control. How could they do such a dirty thing? How can such a person be qualified to be a teacher?" Fang Jianhong glared at Lin Yubin, who hurriedly apologized and scolded Rosefinch for being shameless. Head Ma's name was Ma Wenshu. He wasn't the head of Huaqing's education department, but a deputy head who was ranked highly. Of course, with such a big Buddha in the education department, it was enough for Ma Haitao to do whatever he wanted in a high school. Ma Wenxue hung up the phone and felt a headache coming on. Although his immediate superior had just informed him that his son, Ma Haitao, should apologize to others and obtain their forgiveness, and he had verbally agreed to it, he still felt dissatisfied when he thought about it. His son was injured and hospitalized, and he still had to apologize to the person who hid him. If word of this got out, where would he, Ma Wenshue, put his face? Moreover, what Fang Jianhong said made sense. Ma Haitao was his biological son, after all, and if he got into a dead end because of this matter, he wouldn't be able to pull him back, Pa. He slammed his palm heavily on the table, then carried his teacup and walked to the head's office at the easternmost end of the corridor. Wang Wenhai was the head of the education department, and he was also the official who controlled this office. In the office, his words carried enormous weight, and Ma Wenshue didn't have the ability to wrestle with him. His subordinates often joked about Ma Wenshue's and Wang Wenhai's names, saying that one was Wenshue and the other was Wenhai. From their names, it was obvious that Wenhai was older than Wenshue. What they said was the truth, and Ma Wenshue didn't even have the leeway to refute it. Of course, every time he heard such a comparison, he felt a prickling feeling of discomfort in his heart. Ma Wenshue knocked on the door and entered. Wang Wenhai was on the phone with someone. When he saw Ma Wenshue come in, he glanced at him with a strange expression and gestured for him to sit on the sofa and wait for a moment. Wang Wenhai hung up the phone and looked at Ma Wenshue with a smile, asking, "Wenshue, what's the matter? I know that you don't lack good tea here, so I brought the teacups just to ask for a cup of good tea to drink," Ma Wenshue said jokingly, deliberately trying to get closer to him. "Old Ma, do you still lack good tea in your own office? I think you're too stingy. You can't bear to drink your own good tea, so you always ask for mine," Wang Wenhai said, pretending to be angry. Ma Wenshue was shocked. Wang Wenhai said that he was too stingy. Could it be that he already knew why he was here? Some people said that the way of being an official had 4 words: be bold and careful. Ma Wenshue had been immersed in officialdom for many years, so he had some understanding of these 4 words. Be it his superior or his subordinates, every word they said had a deeper meaning. Was this "too stingy" just referring to Ma Wenshue's tea collection, or was it referring to something else? However, since he was here, he had to untie the knot in his heart. Otherwise, he would be scared off by Wang Wenhai with just one sentence, and he would be looked down upon even more. Ma Wenshue said with a smile, "I've drunk the tea here, and I feel that the tea in my office can't compare. I've been raised to be picky. Chief, you can't let me go back disappointed." Wang Wenhai sighed softly and said, "Are you here for your son's matter?" "Yes. To tell you the truth, I just called that kid and gave him a good scolding. I even said that I would break his legs when I got back. However, Fang Jian, the school's director, took the phone and reprimanded me. He said that I had wronged the kid this time. That kid is usually as stubborn as a cow, but today he actually knew to wipe his tears." Director Fang Jian also said that they would wait for the doctor's appraisal results to come out, and then send the students' confessions and medical records to the education department. At that time, things would get out of hand. Ma Wenshue looked at Wang Wenhai sincerely and said, "I'm here to ask the chief how this matter should be handled." A hint of mockery appeared at the corner of Wang Wenhai's mouth, but it disappeared in an instant. Wang Wenhai looked at Ma Wenshue and said, "Wenshue, look at something first." As he spoke, he took out his mobile phone and sent a video to Ma Wenshue's mobile phone. As soon as Ma Wenhai opened the video, the sound of his son, Ma Haitao, cursing like an unscrupulous hooligan. If he couldn't scold him, he would beat him. If he couldn't beat him, he would cry. Then, he would lie on the ground and pretend to be dead. The content was simply unbearable to look at. Ma Wenshue had never thought that his obedient and sensible son would have such a side to him. Ma Wenshue felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He knew that he had been completely tricked by those bastards. The people over there had such evidence in their hands, and they could also send it to Wang Wenhai's book. This matter would not be easy to resolve. Wang Wenhai looked at Ma Wenshue and said, "Did you see it clearly?" "Chief, I was deceived by that bastard," Ma Wenshue said in a dry voice. Old Ma, originally, for your sake and for the sake of the education department, they were prepared to turn this matter into a small one. This video will end here with me. That's why I called you and asked you to tell Haitao to apologize to the others, and this matter would be over. But, since you feel that your son has been wronged, and the Ivy League wants to seek justice for their student, it seems like we can't suppress it anymore. I'll leave this matter to you, Wang Wenhai said. I'll leave it to you. I believe that you will definitely be able to handle this matter impartially. I will. I will definitely handle this matter impartially. I will not be biased just because one of them is my son, Ma Wenshua said as he nodded solemnly. He felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. He knew that his son was going to be unlucky, and the Ivy League was going to be unlucky too. If they weren't unlucky, then he would be the unlucky one. What a scam! He cried miserably in his heart. When Fang Yan brought a group of students downstairs, he happened to bump into Baldy, who had just parked his car and was running upstairs. Baldy saw Fang Yan and asked, "Has the matter been resolved?" "Not yet," Fang Yan said. "Then why did he leave?" Not only was Baldy confused, but even Huang Haoren and the others felt that it was strange. Mr. Fang had angered the Ivy League's dean, Fang Jianhong, to such an extent. Presumably, they wouldn't just let it go, right? "Someone will help me resolve it," Fang Yan said with a smile. He turned to look at Huang Haoren and the others and said, "I won't ask you to write a reflection letter, so you probably won't feel that you've done anything wrong. I want you to write down the course of events, and then think about whether there's a better way to resolve the problem. I have a language class tomorrow afternoon, and I'll look for you at that time to get your answers." "All right, Mr. Fang," the students replied. Fang Yan looked at Baldy and said, "Let's go. Drive me back." The students all laughed and said, "Mr. Fang, you came here in Baldy's battery-powered car?" These guys all knew that Baldy's car was an battery-powered car. Only I have too high expectations of him. Just as Baldy drove Fang Yan to the entrance of the hospital, a white BMW stopped in front of them. Tangqing opened the door and got out of the car. He looked at Fang Yan, who was sitting in the back seat of the battery-powered car, with a smile. Fang Yan jumped out of the battery-powered car, looked at Tangqing and scolded, "You bastard, you still dare to run over to see me? You hurt someone and ran away. Don't you have any shame? Who are you going to let clean up after you?" "Stop scolding, I know you're not angry," Tangqing said jokingly. Fang Yan was very depressed. He felt that he had been completely seen through by these students. Chapter 304. Fang Yan got into Tangqing's BMW, and the driver went out to smoke, leaving the space to the teacher and the student. Fang Yan looked at Tangqing and said, "Is the problem solved? If not, how would I dare to come to see you?" Tangqing said with a smile, "I was the one who beat them up. I can't just leave Huang Haoren and the others there to clean up my mess. Of course, I guess that Huang Haoren would definitely call you. He is your absolute confidant. He can't hide anything from you. How far are you going to go?" Fang Yan asked. Fang Yan was a teacher, and he had a deep understanding of his students. Tangqing was a talented and arrogant person. Moreover, Fang Yan knew that Tangqing and Qin Yitian had always had a good relationship. Qin Yitian had such a shocking background. How bad could Tangqing be? Moreover, it was precisely because of Tangqing's extreme pride that he would take responsibility for what he did. He would never push the responsibility to others. Knowing that Tangqing was involved, Fang Yan was no longer worried that this matter could not be solved. He also did not worry that the result of this matter would be unfavorable to them. No matter who dealt with this matter, in the end, they would have to give face to the Tang family. If the Tang family spoke, the reason why Fang Yan rushed here was that he was worried that his students would be hurt. However, after confirming that the students were not hurt, he was worried that the result of this matter would be unfair. Of course, this unfair and unjust mainly referred to the students of the Ivy League. You see, there are such selfless men in the world. He knew the power of the Tang family. He knew that if the Tang family spoke, even if Tangqing really hit people without reason, this matter could only be left unsettled. However, Fang Yan did not want to see this result. He hoped that his students could understand the meaning of right and wrong. He hoped that his students would know the big picture. He hoped that his students would not be infected with the bad atmosphere of society. I was wrong, I apologize. If you are wrong, you will bear the consequences. Using one's power to oppress others was the worst thing to do. If they succeeded this time, they wouldn't think about right or wrong when they encountered similar situations in the future. Instead, they would think about who could help solve the problem. Students were the hope of the future of society. If the hope of the future was all like this, then where was the hope? Fang Yan was willing to discuss with the teachers and leaders of the Ivy League school to determine the nature of this fight. In the end, it was wrong for students to fight. He loved his students, loved the children of Class 9, but he would not indulge them too much. However, the performance of the Ivy League was really disappointing. This was also the reason why Fang Yan left angrily and allowed the situation to develop naturally. He knew that there was no way he could reason with Director Fang, who was full of power, and Teacher Lin, who scolded him without asking about the cause and effect. Since you don't want to accept my kindness, then I'll treat you like a fart. He could do whatever he wanted with it. That depends on what they choose. Tangqing smiled proudly. Anyway, I've done it politely and appropriately. If they want to turn a big problem into a small one, I can let them go. I'm a low-profile person. I don't want to cause a storm in the city and let others see me as a joke. How big is a small problem? To tell you the truth, I feel very embarrassed to hit them, but if they don't know what's good for them, then they can only blame it on their bad luck. I've already prepared a feast for them. Tangqing looked at Fang Yan and said, however, Mr. Fang came out so quickly. It means that the old guys over there are not easy to talk to, right? The Ivy League has a bigger influence in the education circle of Huaqing than Rosefinch, so they have developed the bad habit of looking down on others even though they're the best in the world. This time, I'll teach them a lesson. What did you do? Fang Yan asked. I just asked someone to help me take a video of them arrogantly scolding people and taking the initiative to hit people. Tangqing smiled slyly. Didn't you teach us? If the enemy doesn't move, we move first. Once we've identified our enemy, we have to think of a way to make ourselves invincible. This is what I taught you. Absolutely. Using a phone to take pictures again. Isn't this too lame? Why don't you use such a useful technique? Tangqing asked. Those idiots still think they have the upper hand, but they don't know that we've been guiding them to do stupid things. Huang Haoren is the most cunning. He keeps showing weakness, but when he does, he shows his unyielding heroic spirit. They're about to go crazy with anger. Who else should they hit if not him? They wanted to beat up Huang Haoren, but you stood out to turn the tide and beat them down. That's because they're not strong enough. I can't do anything about it. I know your ability. There's probably no one in the entire student world of Huaqing who's your opponent. Fang Yan looked at Tangqing and said, try not to use your fists to solve problems in the future. You're a student after all. Actually, I don't want to either, Tangqing said. But Mr. Fang has already set an example. I have no reason not to follow the teacher's example. Seeing Fang Yan's murderous gaze, Tangqing said casually, Mr. Fang, why didn't you shout in class about such a big event like the battle between you and the Japanese sword god? If you did, I could have brought my classmates to pull up banners and shout slogans for you. Unfortunately, I found out too late. I didn't see Mr. Fang's heroic appearance when he defeated the Japanese sword god. What a pity. Get lost, Fang Yan said angrily. This is my car. Fang Yan was stunned. He opened the door and was about to get out. Mr. Fang, Qin Etienne, is she okay? Tang Qing asked from behind. Fang Yan's body stiffened. He said without turning his head, I don't know. Forget it, I won't ask. I hope she's fine. Tang Qing sighed softly. He sat back in the back seat of Baldy's electric scooter and let Baldy pull him through the noisy crowd. He saw the numbness and exhaustion on other people's faces, and they could also see the pain and sadness in his eyes. They were all people with stories. Jiang Qin looked really happy. She had been smiling since the moment she saw Fang Yan. She smiled and said to Fang Yan, Mr. Fang, are we going to Zhuangyuan Street or Friendship Square? She smiled and said to Fang Yan, Mr. Fang, can you treat me to a bowl of fish balls? I like the fish balls here the most. She smiled and said to Fang Yan, Mr. Fang, why aren't you talking? Come, smile. She kept talking, kept walking, and kept trying all kinds of snacks. Of course, because she was too lively, Fang Yan was dragged by her to talk, walk, and eat snacks. Jiang Qin held a skewer of grilled squid in her left hand and a skewer of roasted corn in her right hand. She said with a face full of happiness, Mr. Fang, I think this kind of life is the happiest. Do you think I'm a good-for-nothing? Jiang Qin didn't know that when she stood on the world stage with a guzheng in her arms and carried forward Hua Xia's classical music to the world, and was called the Moon Goddess by humans, what she missed the most was this kind of carefree civilian life with grilled squid in one hand and tender corn in the other. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and said with a smile, It doesn't matter if you're successful or not. It's important to find happiness. If you think this is good, then pursue and enjoy this kind of life. No one said that you have to have a bright future. That's not feasible. Since I promised to promote our Hua Xia's classical music with Sister Xia, I will definitely work hard for this goal. I've read a lot of information recently. Sister Xia's worries are indeed necessary, and we really need to awaken. It's good that you can persevere, Fang Yan said. You've been busy eating along the way. Have you thought about what gifts to buy for your parents? Mr. Fang, do you have any good recommendations? Your dad likes to drink, but there's no point in buying wine. It's better to buy a watch. Fang Yan put forward his suggestion seriously. He promised Jiang Qin to come over and help her choose a gift, so he had to fulfill his responsibility. Jiang Qin was also Fang Yan's teacher. He was happy to see his student show his love in front of his own father, not his godfather. Jiang Qin's eyes lit up and said, Yes, I'll buy a watch for my dad. Who says a butcher can't wear a watch? A butcher's daughter must let her father wear a watch. After confirming his father's gift, Jiang Qin took Fang Yan's hand and ran to the Friendship Building next to them. There were many brand counters there, including mid-range and high-end brands. Fang Yan and Jiang Qin discussed for a while and prepared to buy a mid-range brand watch worth a few thousand yuan. In this case, even if Jiang Dai knew the value of the watch, he would still be willing to wear it. If he bought a watch worth tens of thousands of yuan, Jiang Dai would definitely hide it, so it would lose the meaning of buying a watch. Fang Yan let Jiang Qin pick the watch first, and he walked to the restroom of the mall. He came to the restroom and was about to unzip the water when his hand suddenly stopped. He saw a frog. A green-skinned frog the size of a palm was squatting in the urinal, staring at him with wide eyes. It did not say a word, just like a plastic toy. However, Fang Yan knew very well that it was indeed a frog, a living frog. Fang Yan could see its eyes moving, could see its puffed cheeks moving up and down, could see its mouth opening and closing, seeing a green frog in a urinal in a big city. Didn't this scene look very strange? If it were you, how would you deal with it? Fang Yan held his breath, and a strong heat flow poured over the frog's head. Croak, 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 the frog cried fiercely. Chapter 305. Fang Yan returned to the watch counter. Jiang Qin held up a watch with a brown leather chain and said to Fang Yan, Mr. Fang, does this watch look good? The lady at the counter was amused and said, You two are really interesting. A girl calling her boyfriend a teacher, I've never heard of it before. Fang Yen quickly explained, I'm really a teacher and she's my student. The lady at the counter smiled, but the way she looked at Fang Yen was a little strange. What teacher would bring his student to buy a watch? Moreover, their relationship didn't look like a teacher-student relationship. If it was really a teacher-student relationship, it proved that this guy was really a beast. He wouldn't even let go of his own student. She's here to buy a gift for her father, and I'm here to help with the reference, Fang Yen explained honestly. He was very afraid that others would misunderstand. Jiang Qin smiled and didn't care. He pulled Fang Yan's wrist over and put the watch on Fang Yan's wrist. He looked at it from left to right and said, It looks good. It gives people a very elegant feeling when wearing it. Fang Yan took off the watch and said, This one doesn't suit him. Your dad's wrist is much thicker than mine, and the leather chain doesn't suit him very well. You can choose a watch with an iron chain for him. It's better if it's rougher, I know. Jiang Qin nodded seriously. I've already chosen it. As he said that, he raised another watch on the box on the counter and said, This is the one I bought for my dad. That watch had an iron chain, the dial was bigger, and the chain was longer. It was indeed suitable for the obese Jiang Dai. Fang Yin nodded and said, This one is not bad. Your dad will probably like it. What about this one? Do you think it looks good? Jiang Qin asked. This one? Fang Yen took off the watch in his hand and put it on the counter. He said, One is enough. Why did you buy so many? Sir, this lady specially chose this one for you. She said you will definitely like it, the lady at the counter said with a smile. By selling 2 watches at once, she had completed her business for the day ahead of schedule. The more sales they made, the more commission they got. Nonsense, Fang Yen refused. I don't need you to buy me a watch. But I have already bought it, Jiang Qin said aggrievedly and put the watch on Fang Yan's wrist again. Yes, sir. This lady has already paid for both watches, the receptionist said. She thought to herself that this man was really insensitive. A girl paid her own money to buy a watch for a guy, but the guy didn't appreciate it. This kind of guy was really blind. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't marry such a blockhead. Fang Yen looked at Jiang Qin and said with a serious expression, Jiang Qin, I know you mean well. But you're still a student, and there's a lot of money to be spent. Shall we return this watch? You don't have much money, and you still have to buy a present for your mother, right? I'm just your teacher. I really don't need you to buy me such an expensive present. Fang Yen looked at the price tag. Each watch was worth more than 8,000 yuan. That was close to 20,000 yuan in total. For a student who was still studying, this was indeed not a small amount of money. I've already chosen my mother's present, Jiang Qin said angrily. Who said I don't have money? Do you know how much Sister Xia Tian paid me and Yuan Lin this time? Although I'm still a student, I've already started to make money. Sister Xia Tian said that she'll give us more opportunities to be on camera. As long as we're on camera or participate in performances, we'll get money. In the future I'll make more money than my dad every year. Besides, why can't you accept my present? You gave me tuition, but you never charged me for it. If you didn't know Sister Xia Tian, how could Yuan Lin and I have the chance to become Sister Xia Tian's students? Yuan Lin also kept saying that she wanted to give you a present. I don't care, I've already bought it. If you don't accept it, then I'll. Jiang Qin raised the watch in his hand and said with red eyes, If you don't accept it, I'll smash it. Who wants to keep a gift that can't be given out? Fang Yen sighed softly, took the watch from Jiang Qin's hand and said, Okay. Then I'll accept this present for the time being. Thank you, Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin smiled and said, You're welcome, Mr. Fang. Jiang Qin helped put the watch on Fang Yan's wrist. He looked left and right and said, It's really nice. You really have good taste. Moreover, this is the first gift I've bought with money. It's so meaningful. Fang Yan's heart was heavy. Jiang Qin used the money he earned for the first time to buy gifts for his parents and himself. How could he bear such love? Fang Yan said with a smile, "You gave me a present. I'll treat you to dinner." "Okay. I want to eat steak." "No problem," Fang Yan said. When the staff brought the warranty card and invoice, Fang Yan and Jiang Qin turned and walked to the 4th floor of the mall. That floor was a food court with many restaurants to choose from. "What gift did you choose for Sisterly?" Fang Yan asked curiously. "Travel." Jiang Qin smiled proudly. "My mother has worked hard all her life. She used to earn pocket money by setting up a stall to support my studies. She never had a chance to go out. If I go back to Yanjing tomorrow, my mother will be reluctant. She will cry when I leave. So, I secretly booked a plane ticket for her, and then I will take her to Yanjing. She can accompany me and not be separated so quickly. She can also enjoy the scenery of Yanjing. Am I very smart?" Fang Yan touched Jiang Qin's head dotingly and said, "That's a good idea. Sisterly has worked hard all her life. When you make money in the future, let her enjoy a good life." "Of course." Jiang Qin turned her head away unwillingly. She didn't like Fang Yan touching her head. She felt like a little kid. Jiang Qin chose a French restaurant, and the two of them found a table by the window. The waiter brought the lemonade and menu. Jiang Qin took the menu skillfully and ordered. Not only did she order her own, but she also ordered one for Fang Yan that suited Fang Yan's taste. This made Fang Yan very satisfied. "Mr. Fang, I know your family is in Yanjing, right?" "Sort of," Fang Yan said. Fang Yan's home was in Yanjing, but it was still a distance from Yanjing City. It was closer to Tianjin City. "In a month, the students will have their holidays. Are you going back to Yanjing at that time?" Jiang Qin asked slyly. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and said, "What evil idea do you have now? When you go back to Yanjing, we will also have our holidays. Yuan Lin and I want to walk around Yanjing. Can you be our tour guide?" Fang Yan thought about it and said, "I'll decide then. I have a lot of things to deal with after the holidays." "Okay." Because Fang Yan didn't agree immediately, Jiang Qin was a little disappointed. But she knew that Fang Yan was soft-hearted. As long as she could find a chance to beg again, he would definitely agree. It would be best if Yuan Lin, that little troublemaker, could come along as well. Yuan Lin's presence could increase the success rate, but Jiang Qin was a little unwilling. She was really conflicted. When Jiang Qin was about to drink the lemonade on the table, Fang Yan suddenly stopped her and said, "Don't move." "What's wrong?" Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yan and asked. Fang Yan took the cup from Jiang Qin and stared coldly at a red filament in the cup. If one didn't look carefully, it would be easy to mistake the red filament for the fiber in the lemon. But under Fang Yan's gaze, he could see the filament moving up and down, left and right. It was alive. Red thread snake. It could enter the human body through liquids and various carriers, and then grow and multiply in the human stomach. Finally, the densely packed red thread snake would pierce through the stomach, skin and flesh, and then crawl out of the skin. At that time, half of its body would be in the flesh, and the other half would be outside. At first glance, it would look like its body was stained with countless red threads. The threads were floating in the wind, but in fact, the red thread snake was shaking its head. This was the strangest and cruelest way to die. "Unclean?" Jiang Qin also moved his little head over, looked at it carefully, and asked, "What's inside?" "Nothing," Fang Yan said with a smile. He took the initiative to take Jiang Qin's hand and said, "Let's go to another restaurant." Why do you want to change?" Jiang Qin asked. But seeing Fang Yan's big hand holding his little hand, the voice of resistance immediately became much smaller, and he said, "Mr. Fang, are you taking me to eat delicious food?" "Yes," Fang Yan said. They walked to the busy street and bought some snacks at the roadside shop. Fang Yan held a bowl of beef meatballs and said, Didn't you say that this is the happiest life? Jiang Qin pouted and said, stingy. Fang Yen saw a park in front of them, and there was a man-made lake in the middle of the park. There were many couples rowing in the middle of the lake, so he said to Jiang Qin, "Do you want to take a boat?" Jiang Qin suddenly became interested and said happily, "Okay. Let's go rowing." So the two walked over, rented a small boat, and rowed to the center of the lake. Folk songs are like the spring river, not afraid of dangerous shoals and many bends. Jiang Qin was in a good mood, and she took the initiative to sing a folk song. Her voice was sweet and crisp, with a young girl's coquettishness, and it attracted many cheers from the surrounding people. Fang Yen smiled and clapped, and he really enjoyed Jiang Qin's singing. His eyes, however, took in all the movements in the middle of the lake. In the shadow of the woods by the shore, a pair of triangular eyes stared fiercely at the boat in the middle of the lake. "Where there is water is my kingdom. You are courting death." The triangular eyes had a ferocious smile on his face. Chapter 306. The artificial lake in the center of Tianhu Park was also known as the Lover's Lake, because many couples would row boats in the middle of the lake and pledge their love. That was how it got its name. Of course, not only couples, but parents would also bring their children here to play during holidays. After Jiang Qin finished singing the song, "Mountains and rivers are like spring water," Fang Yen had already rowed the boat to a remote area far away from the crowd. Jiang Qin looked around and said with a blushing face, "Mr. Fang, why did you row the boat here? Is there any good scenic spot here?" "Because it's dangerous here," Fang Yen said. "Dangerous?" Jiang Qin's heart was beating fast. The middle of the lake was so lively, but Mr. Fang deliberately didn't go there and deliberately rowed the boat to this oblique angle. Did he want to? What should I do? Should I pretend to accept or pretend to be reserved and push him aside? But if I do that, will he not like me anymore? What if he gets angry? He said it was dangerous here, so it meant that he must want to do something to me. He said it so clearly, should I do something in response? The young girl's heart was budding, and she didn't even know what love was. She just saw some cliché scenes from books and TV, and then put herself into the story. This kind of perturbed and sweet feeling was something they had never experienced before. "Yes, it's very dangerous," Fang Yen said. Fang Yan's expression was serious, and his eyes swept around coldly. He said, "Just now in the restroom of the mall, I saw a frog in the urinal." "Ah?" Jiang Qin exclaimed. "Isn't that too cute? Where's the frog?" "I trampled it to death," Fang Yen said in a deep voice. "When we were eating in a French restaurant, the waiter served us a glass of lemonade with a rare little snake called the red viper. If we drank that glass of lemonade, those little snakes would suck our stomach blood and reproduce in our stomachs." "There's a snake?" Jiang Qin's eyes widened. Until then, she finally realized that something was wrong. She was in a really dangerous situation, but this danger was not brought by Fang Yen. "Yes, there are snakes." Fang Yen nodded. "I know a very powerful person. He is known as the Xiangxi Snake Monarch. I've been sending people to look for his whereabouts. Obviously, he's not going to let me go so easily. Although I don't know how the hatred between the two of us started. Today is really not a good day to meet him. At the very least, I should send you back first. However, I know that this kind of person tends to go to extremes. If I send you back, you and your family may suffer. He has been following us, and I can't guarantee that he won't do anything to your family." "So you used us as bait?" Jiang Qin asked. She was naturally intelligent, and Fang Yen had already said it so clearly. How could she still not understand? "Yes." Fang Yen nodded. "He is a big monster. He can use all kinds of poisonous snakes and fierce beasts. The frogs in the toilet, the red-lined snakes in the cup, and even a group of poisonous snakes and scorpions might crawl out from under the blankets when we were lying on the bed. He hid in the dark and gave commands remotely, making it impossible for us to defend against these killer moves. He can try 100 times, but if we get hit once, everything will be over. There was one more thing that Fang Yen didn't mention. Whether it was the poisonous frogs or the poisonous snakes, or the upcoming assassination, the Snake Lord was trying to force her to abdicate. If a person followed you like gangrene, plotted against you, then you would not be able to escape. Be on your guard when you eat, be on your guard when you sleep, be on your guard when you open your eyes, and be on your guard when you close your eyes. It was easy for a person to become mentally and physically exhausted when living in a state where every bush and tree was an enemy. This would shake Fang Yan's indifferent state of mind. If the tranquil state of mind was damaged, the heart of Taiji would be covered in dust. No Tao seeker would be willing to face the fact that their cultivation did not advance and instead regressed. At that time, as long as Fang Yan made a small mistake, the Snake Lord would attack and kill Fang Yan. The Snake Lord could wait, but Fang Yan couldn't. Fang Yan had the ability to protect himself, but what about the people around him? What about his students? Fang Yan's plan to lure the enemy was to put himself in a desperate situation. He knew that he was taking a great risk by doing this. He even took the initiative to pull the battle line to the lake, where the Snake Lord was best at fighting. The Snake Lord was king when encountering the water. He believed that the Snake Lord would not be able to resist such a temptation. He would not be able to resist. Jiang Qin sat down quietly, looked at Fang Yan, and asked, "What can I help you with?" "You don't have to do anything," Fang Yan said gently. "Just sit there quietly. No matter what you see, don't panic. I will do my best to protect you. As long as I'm alive, you will be alive as well." There was something else that Fang Yan didn't say. If he died, Jiang Qin would probably not be able to survive either. But this was the only choice. It was also the best choice. He was confident in himself. "I believe in you," Jiang Qin said. "I'm not afraid at all. I know that you will protect me anyway." Not only was she not afraid, but she even took out 2 pieces of gum from her bag. She forced one into Fang Yan's mouth, and kept the other in her mouth. She looked around but didn't see anything unusual. "He's here," Fang Yan said. As soon as Fang Yan said that, the calm surface of the lake began to ripple. At first, it was only a slight tremble, like water being blown by the wind. But soon, the waves began to roll like boiling water towards the boat that Fang Yan was on. Whoosh! The loud sound of water could be heard. Then, countless toads jumped up from the bottom of the water. Because there were too many of them, and they were too densely packed together, they looked like an ugly monster that had emerged from the bottom of the water. The poison on the toads' bodies wasn't brown, but dark red. It was as if they had acne that was about to mature. Their eyes weren't black, but dark red. They didn't scream and their bodies looked stiff when they jumped. Zombie toads. They fed the toads with corpse energy and let these toads absorb the corpse poison. In the end, they became the most evil and ferocious poisonous creatures in the world. The difference between zombie toads and other poisonous snakes was that they could be bred in batches. They only needed to use ordinary toads as raw materials and let them live in the land of extreme negative energy for 3 years. In order to deal with Fang Yan, Snake Lord used all the zombie toads he brought out. The zombie toads were controlled by Snake Lord. One by one, they pounced towards Fang Yan and Jiang Qin on the boat. Jiang Qin was so scared that her face turned pale. She didn't even know that she had swallowed her gum. She had promised Mr. Fang that she wouldn't panic no matter what happened. But these toads were too ugly and disgusting. Although they hadn't bitten her yet, Jiang Qin already had goosebumps all over her body. Fang Yan's face was dark, and his eyes were as sharp as daggers. The heart of Tai Chi was fully activated, and the Tai Chi realm instantly appeared. Then, everything around him appeared in his mind. The toad's wide-open mouth, the bulging red pustules on its body, the water droplets on its body when it jumped, the dead leaves rippling in the middle of the lake, and the white stripe running away in a panic, Wagging its tail, Jiang Qin jumped into Fang Yan's arms. Fang Yan hugged Jiang Qin with one hand and slapped the surface of the lake with the other. The clouds were calm, but the clouds were surging. Cloud expelling palm. Boom! It was as if a miniature bomb had been dropped on the bottom of the lake. The water rippled more than 10 feet high, and a human wall appeared out of thin air, blocking the zombie toad. What was more shocking was that there was a vacuum between the boat and the water wall. The lake water was swept up by Fang Yan's palm, and the black silt was exposed. There was also a small fish jumping and struggling in the silt in fear. It couldn't understand why all the water on its head had suddenly disappeared. The zombie toads were blocked by the water wall, but they continued to charge towards Fang Yan. Bang, 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 the sound of knocking could be heard incessantly. The curtain of water was like a solid wall. The toads charged forward again and again, but one by one they fell into the water. Because of this, the boat that Fang Yan was in was like an arrow that had been released from a bow, and it flew away. When the boat was far away, the water curtain came crashing down and covered the silt again. The zombie toads regained their freedom, and once again chased after Fang Yan's boat. Clap, clap, clap. They jumped stiffly, and the ones below pushed against the ones above, while the ones above jumped higher and further, towards Fang Yan's boat. When they got close, Fang Yan struck out with his palm again. Boom! The toads were blocked by the water wall again. This time, it didn't just block them. The water wall turned into a water dragon, sweeping towards them. Roar! Wherever the water dragon passed, the toads all disappeared. When the water dragon disappeared, they popped their heads out of the water in a daze, not understanding how they got here. It was also when Fang Yan struck again that the Snake Lord appeared. It leaped out of the water at the bow of the ship and clawed at Fang Yan's head. He wore a black steel finger glove on his right hand, and each finger glove was smeared with the Snake Lord's blood. The snake blood couldn't be washed away by the wind, and it could exist for hundreds of years. His triangular eyes flashed with a fierce light, and the smile on his face was so bright. The extreme contrast made people's hearts palpitate. He knew that he had succeeded. After guarding for so many days, he succeeded overnight. He wanted to crack open Fang Yan's skull and carve out 5 holes on the top of his skull. Then he would use them to raise zombies. Only a zombie that had eaten a human's brain could become a ghost king. Yes, he was currently lacking an intelligent ghost king. Chapter 307. After a punch was thrown, one needed to retract it and accumulate strength again. That way, the next punch would have the same amount of strength. The same went for human strength. The most dangerous state was the blank period when one's old strength had been exhausted and new strength had not been generated. That was when the human body's defense was at its weakest. If one could find this point, even someone who was far weaker than oneself could take the opportunity to win. The Snake Lord had been lurking under the water for a long time. First, he attacked Fang Yan with the zombie toad. When Fang Yan counterattacked with his palm, he finally found an opportunity to attack. Since he was called the Snake Lord, he was naturally good at swimming. He was more carefree in the water than on land. When he jumped out from the bottom of the lake, he barely brought up any water droplets, nor did he make any sound. Like a water ghost, he suddenly emerged from the water without a sound, catching people off guard. Timing, location, and people. The Snake Lord thought that he had the upper hand, and he was confident that he could scratch Fang Yan's skull with one claw. However, at this moment, something surprising happened. Fang Yan suddenly turned around with a gratified and sarcastic smile on his face. "You finally came out, you finally came out?" This was a conspiracy, a trap. The Snake Lord knew better than anyone else. Fang Yan had long known of his existence, and he had long known that Fang Yan knew of his existence. He knew that he was not deceived. When Fang Yan discovered his existence, he still dragged the battlefield to the center of the lake to lure him out to fight to the death. Fang Yen thought that he could get rid of the Snake Lord by inviting him into the lake, but the Snake Lord thought that he was the king who could win in the end. When the Tao rises 1 foot and the devil rises 10, who will attain the Tao? Who could become a demon? Now, his claws were about to pierce through his scalp and pierce through his skull. What could he do? Crack! The Snake Lord's claws could not reach out. There was a big hand on his arm. That hand grasped the major acupuncture points on his arm, such as Zhigo, Huizong, and Lao, numbing his body and making him unable to move. His leaping body was still suspended in the air. However, that was not because his ability to stay in the air was amazing, but because Fang Yen had lifted him up in the air. His body was in the hands of Fang Yen, and his life was also in the hands of Fang Yen. He couldn't believe his own eyes. Fang Yen was obviously exhausted, and his body didn't even have time to turn around. How did he grab his wrist first? The Snake Lord did not know that after the Taiji heart was unleashed, his speed in the Taiji realm was not worth mentioning in Fang Yan's eyes. Intercepting his attack was not a difficult task. The Snake Lord's expression changed unpredictably. In the end, it became as fierce as ever. How did you do it? Snake Lord asked in a hoarse voice. Looking at the pair of triangular eyes and the patches of skin on his face that looked like snake scales, Fang Yen felt nauseous. The poison attacked his heart and seeped into his body. His body actually had some characteristics of a poisonous snake. As a Libra who loved beauty and had high taste, he really couldn't stand a human who looked like this. I wanted to do it, and I did it, Fang Yen said with a smile. Crack! Fang Yen used his strength and crushed one of Snake Lord's arms. This monster's body was full of poison, and he could use those strange poisons. Fang Yen didn't want to give him any chance to fight back. Fang Yen didn't want something stupid like failing in an easy task to happen to him. Ah! Snake Lord screamed. He was clearly in so much pain that his facial features were scrunched up, but there was a cruel smile in his eyes. When he opened his mouth, a stream of red blood sprayed toward Fang Yan's face. Puff! Snake Lord's most poisonous skill was not his killing technique, but his poisonous fangs and poisonous blood. The poisonous blood stained his body and rotted his skin and flesh. Fang Yan's large hand was still grabbing onto one of the Snake Lord's arms and lifting him into the air. The two of them were very close. When he spat out a mouthful of poisonous blood, the Snake Lord opened his mouth and laughed loudly. Close combat was his forte. Using one of his arms to exchange for Fang Yan's life was a worthwhile trade. This was his variation. A backup move when a sneak attack failed. Who would have thought that his lips could be used as a spear and his blood could be used as a sword? Fang Yen had a contemptuous smile on his face. Then, he retracted his arm and brought the Snake Lord's body back with him. Then, while the Snake Lord racked his brains and could not figure out what was going on, the Snake Lord stood in front of Fang Yen. In other words, Fang Yen used Snake Lord's body to block his own poisonous blood. The red poisonous blood splattered on Snake Lord's body. The skin that was exposed outside his clothes was rotting and falling off at a speed visible to the naked eye. His pale skin turned into black spots. The poisonous blood actually burned his skin red. From this, it could be seen that the poisonous blood was extremely poisonous. Snake Lord's body trembled in pain, but his brain did not seem to be aware of any of this. He stared blankly at the dense holes that had just appeared on his body. His eyes were full of fear and confusion. Is this magic? Of course, this was not magic. This was the heart of Tai Chi. Fang Yan's speed was faster than Snake Lord's. In the Tai Chi realm, he was the master of everything. When Snake Lord bit his fangs and tongue, Fang Yen guessed what he wanted to do. When he sprayed out the venom mixed with blood and fangs, Fang Yen had already lifted his body back and used it as a shield. However, Fang Yan's speed was so fast that even the person himself did not realize it. When Snake Lord's eyes and consciousness deceived him, When he thought that he was only being lifted in the air by Fang Yen, his body was actually already in front of Fang Yen. Among the supreme beings in the world, only speed could not be defeated. When one's speed reached an extreme, it would give off a magical feeling. This was also the reason why Snake Lord misunderstood that what Fang Yen used was a magic trick. Slap! Fang Yen threw Snake Lord, who had completely lost the ability to resist, on the deck, stepped on his neck, and said with a smile, "This is not magic, it's Kung Fu. Huaxia Kung Fu. You have been hiding in the snake cave of Xiangxi for too long. You must not know much about the real Huaxia Kung Fu, right?" Snake Lord's eyes turned scarlet, and he said with hatred, "Will you kill me?" "Of course," Fang Yen said frankly. "I don't like to be at a disadvantage. If you scold me, I will scold you back. If you slap me, I will slap you back. You tried to assassinate me twice, but I can't kill you twice. I still let you take advantage of me." At the end of his words, Fang Yen sighed softly. There was a touch of sadness and regret in Snake Lord's eyes, and he said with an incomprehensible expression, "What if I make a deal with you?" "Deal?" Fang Yen looked at Snake Lord with a playful look and said, "What deal?" "You kill me, but it means nothing to you," Snake Lord said. "You don't even know why I want to kill you." "That's right," Fang Yen said. "But sometimes you don't need to understand the cause and effect of everything so clearly. You wanted to kill me, but I killed you. Isn't that more concise and clear? If you have the chance to kill me, and I say I want to make a deal with you, will you agree? If you won't agree, why do you think I will? Isn't this too unfair to me? Why is your money valuable, but my life can be used for a deal?" Fang Yan's words were so reasonable that Snake Lord was stunned for a long time, and he was speechless. Snake Lord lay there stiffly, waiting for Fang Yen to break his neck with his foot. His honesty made Fang Yen a bit hesitant. He stepped on Snake Lord's neck with his foot and said, "Tell me about your deal, we're both free anyways." This was a park, and this was the artificial lake of the park. Snake Lord could kill and burn without restraint, but Fang Yen couldn't. Because of that, Fang Yen said that they still had some time. Snake Lord's eyes showed a bit more hope and said, "In order to save my sister, they forced me to kill you. They were too hurried, and I didn't have any time to rest. Even though I was already heavily injured, who are they? I don't know. I only know that they were very powerful. I couldn't resist at all. I didn't even know how to resist. They easily took my sister away and said that as long as I killed you, they would let her go," Snake Lord explained with his extremely uncomfortable voice. "I wanted to save my sister, that's why I was in such a hurry to kill you. The first time, on Xixia Mountain, when I was about to succeed, an old Taoist ruined my plan. This time, I failed again. I knew that as long as I died, they would kill my sister. Only if I lived could my sister live. If I died, my sister would also die, your sister." Fang Yen stared at Snake Lord's triangular eyes and thought, "What kind of person is this guy's sister?" "Yes. She's the only family I have in this world." Snake Lord's expression became gentle, a rare hint of affection that shouldn't have appeared on his face appeared in his eyes. "She's the only one who doesn't despise me for being a monster, the Snake Lord that everyone fears. She's the only family I have in this world. And the only one who's willing to listen to me." Fang Yen actually felt a bit of sympathy for him. This guy was really pitiful. Because of his ugly appearance, he was probably a freak in other people's eyes since the day he was born. His parents despised him, his companions feared him, and no one wanted to be friends with him, or even get close to him. He could only talk to flowers, grass, and every tree in his forest. Luckily, he had a sister. She didn't want him to look ugly, she didn't despise him for being with snakes, she was willing to talk to him, and even sang him a not-so-pleasant mountain song. That was his life, a treasure that he swore to protect with his life. Chapter 308. The Snake Lord's life was even more pitiful than Fang Yen had imagined. He didn't even know who his parents were. He had been living in the village's welfare home for as long as he could remember. There were many children in the welfare home. Most of them were abandoned by their parents because they had all kinds of problems like him. It was only when he was there that he didn't encounter discrimination and ridicule, at least not from his peers. However, they had to be beaten up by the director. The director was a fat middle-aged woman. When there were outsiders, she would talk to them with a kind face. Her voice was clear and her plump face was full of smiles. She would even personally help them wipe the rice off the corners of their mouth. However, when those kind donors or university students who used their spare time to show their love left, she would change into a different person. She would either beat them or scold them. Many children didn't resist because they didn't know what resistance was. They were stupid and couldn't react at all. 2 of them didn't even know how to cry. No matter how they were beaten or scolded, they just stood there and laughed foolishly. They didn't even know how to wipe their mouth. The younger sister wasn't the Snake Lord's biological sister. She was also adopted by the welfare home. She was dark and skinny. Her name was Little Bean Sprout. Once, when the director was beating Little Bean Sprout with a feather duster, the Snake Lord bumped into the director from behind. The director and her dark and fat husband shouted that they were going to drown the 2 of them in the pond. From then on, the 2 of them started their own lives. Fortunately, there were many strange people in Xiangxi. The Snake Lord was found and adopted by his master, One-Eyed Layman. Little Bean Sprout also had a place to stay. One-Eyed Layman didn't treat the Snake Lord well, but he wasn't bad either. Most importantly, he taught the Snake Lord everything he knew about controlling snake. He thought that the Snake Lord was a genius. The first time the Snake Lord heard the word genius was from his master. He never thought that someone would think that he was a genius. When the Snake Lord was a teenager, One-Eyed Layman left and never came back. As a result, the Snake Lord only had his younger sister as his family and the poisonous creatures he raised in this world. If it wasn't for his sister, no one would care that he was alive, and no one would know that he was dead. He had come to this world, but many people did not know of his existence. Like those trees or rocks, he could also be a green-skinned snake. He would not leave any memory in people's mind. "I will only live if my sister is alive," said the Snake Lord. "If my sister dies, I won't live alone. So, I want to make a deal with you. Only if I'm alive will I have a chance to save my sister." Fang Yen looked at the triangular eyes of the Snake Lord lying on the deck and said, "If that's the case, I might as well kill you. When those people find out that you're dead, they'll kill your sister too. You'll still be together, isn't that good?" The Snake Lord was once again rendered speechless. "I don't care how pitiful you are, and I don't care how much you love your sister. You killed me twice, so I'll kill you twice. That is, if I can do it," Fang Yen coldly said. "Of course, why don't you tell me the details of your deal? If I happen to be interested, you might be able to keep your life. In my eyes, your life is worthless, but because you killed me, I want to kill you, and you're worth tens of thousands of gold coins. So, if your offer isn't enough to tempt me, then the deal is off." "Do you want a snake slave?" the Snake Lord asked in a hoarse voice. "Snake slave?" Fang Yen was surprised. He stared at the Snake Lord with a burning gaze and asked, "Are you willing to be my snake slave?" There was a record of the Snake Lord in the 100 Eras classics. Born in Xiangxi, the king of snakes. The flame of inheritance is passed down from generation to generation. Only when the old Snake Lord dies will a new Snake Lord be born. If they are willing to respect humans as their master, humans will be able to command hundreds of insects. Unfortunately, there was no detailed description of how to make the Snake Lord a snake slave. This must be a secret of the Snake King clan. "Yes," the Snake Lord firmly said. "Because I want to live, I want to save my sister. As long as my sister is alive, I am willing to be your slave, a bloodthirsty poisonous beast that kills and burns enemies for you. If my sister dies, then I will explode and die to accompany her. The great Snake Lord will not accept any human's orders. This is a choice that goes against my nature. Fang Yen exerted force with his foot, causing the Snake Lord to think that his head was about to be separated from his lower body. Fang Yen said with a look of disdain, "What bullshit, Snake Lord? You think you're the king of snakes, just because you know how to play with a few snakes and raise a few toads? You're being stepped on by me and your life is hanging by a thread, yet you don't see your subjects coming to save you? Don't think of yourself as important, you're nothing but an ugly monster that plays with snakes. What? You don't like what I have to say? You're angry? You want to kill me? You want to explode? Come on, be angry. Kill me. Explode." The Snake Lord's chest was heaving up and down, breathing sounds were coming out of his mouth, and coming in again. Greedy, cunning, vicious, going back on your word, and saying things that are as untrustworthy as farts. You have a strong ego, so the lives of others aren't precious? You kill people at every turn, yet you can't stand it when people call you ugly? Who do you think you are? I only need to lift my foot to kill you. That's no different from stepping on an ant. Kill me. Hurry up and kill me, the Snake Lord shouted with a cruel voice. The Snake Lord was an impatient person. He couldn't stand such humiliation and humiliation. See, even killing you is up to me to decide, Fang Yen sneered. Now you know you're not that important, right? You're only begging me to spare your lowly life, don't even talk about making a deal with me. What right do you have to make a deal with me? Tell me, Fang Yan's voice softened a bit. How do you want to become my snake slave? The Snake Lord's triangular eyes hesitated for a split second, but still spoke up. I'm willing to serve you as my master, I swear to obey your orders with my life. I don't believe your verbal promises. At least, I won't believe your words, Fang Yan said. In order to save your sister, you came all the way here to kill a stranger like me. If I let you go now, you might not be able to save your sister and listen to their orders to come back to kill me. Would I do such a stupid thing? The Snake Lord's expression kept changing, but in the end, he gritted his teeth and said, I'm willing to make a blood oath. A blood oath? A blood oath? No need, I don't want your dirty blood to stain my clothes. I'll give you the snake eye, the Snake Lord said. Snake eye? Fang Yen was secretly happy but didn't show it. What's that? Tell me. If it's not good, then this deal is over. I don't have the patience to keep you company. Give me a bit of power, the Snake Lord said. The tip of Fang Yan's foot loosened a bit, allowing the Snake Lord to gain a bit of power. His hands could move. His feet could move. His head could also move. However, all of these movements were under Fang Yan's control. He knew that if he resisted even the slightest bit, a thunderous strike would be waiting for him. Just one strike would be enough. After one strike, he would die. The Snake Lord took off the black iron glove on his finger, then suddenly reached out with his claw and gouged out his left eyeball. Blood and flesh. Blood splattered everywhere. The Snake Lord took out a cowhide bag from his pocket and put his eyeball into it. He then gave the blood-stained pouch to Fang Yen and said, This is the snake eye that I've painstakingly practiced for 20 years. Now I'm your true snake slave. My life and death are in your hands. If you show even the slightest bit of dissatisfaction, I'll be devoured by your poisonous blood. If you crush the eyeball in the bag, no matter how far I am, I will die on the spot. Fang Yen took the bag and weighed it in his hand. He said, Why should I believe what you said? What if I let you go and you disappear in the blink of an eye? Do you think it's a snake's eye just because you say so? If I crush it and you still don't die, wouldn't that be a huge loss for me? No matter what, it's a good deal for you to exchange an eyeball for a life. A red hole formed by red flesh appeared in the Snake Lord's left eye, and black blood kept oozing out of the black hole. Therefore, when he was angry, his face became even more ferocious, and the black blood flowed even faster. His face was covered in blood, and even the deck of the ship was covered in puddles of blood. His body trembled violently, and he was so angry that he couldn't even speak. I'm already like this, I'm already like this. Why don't you believe me? The Snake Lord's eyes were bleeding, and so was his heart. He felt so wrong that he wanted to cry. Didn't you just say that others are greedy and cunning? How can you say such a thing? How many snake eyes do you have? Fang Yen asked. One. The Snake Lord gritted his teeth. His teeth were chattering, and he felt that he was about to crush his black teeth. All Snake Lords only have one snake eye, and they can only cultivate this one. At first, he didn't understand why his master was the one-eyed scholar, but later he understood that his master was also someone else's snake slave. However, he still didn't know who the master was that could tame his master. The snake's eye was like the legendary Dragon Ball. Of course, the Dragon Ball was hidden in the abdomen, and the useless little snakes could only cultivate one of their eyes into a bead. This was their natal bead, and if it was broken, they would die. Of course, Fang Yen didn't know what effect this bead had for the time being. Fang Yen had taken a look just now, and the Snake Lord's snake eye was showing signs of crystallization, which proved that he had indeed cultivated it for decades. If he dug it out and gave it to Fang Yen, it would be the same as destroying his own cultivation. Fang Yen sighed softly and regretfully said, "If only there were two, we could first crush one as an experiment." Chapter 309. Should I crush one for an experiment? I can have two eyes, but I only have one life. If I crush one, I won't be able to keep my life. I don't know if it was anger or pain, but Snake Lord felt dizzy. He felt like he was going to pass out. It seems like you are very sincere. Should I accept your deal? Fang Yen was hesitant. Red mouth. You are red mouth. Snake Lord gritted his teeth and roared with a mouth full of blood. This time, the Snake Lord really fainted. In order to cooperate with Fang Yen, he even gouged out one of his eyes. Moreover, that eye was his primordial spirit snake's eye. Without that eye, he couldn't continue to cultivate, and his cultivation would stop there. What's worse was that the person who had the snake's eye was his master. The master had the power to kill his snake slave. If you don't accept my deal, why the F***ck did you take my snake's eye? You? What do you want to play? I have nothing now, I really can't afford it. Too immature. Fang Yen was very dissatisfied with Snake Lord's behavior. A deal, a deal. Of course we need to talk first, then we can barter. We haven't even finished talking, and you already fainted. Are we going to do this deal or not? Also, what is red mouth? At this time, a clear and loud voice came from the depths of the forest on the lake shore. Red Mouth is the devil of Xiangxi. He is powerful and has committed many evil deeds. Even the king of poisons, Snake Lord, called you Red Mouth and was angered to death by you. This shows your true nature. Fang Yen was overjoyed and shouted, F***ck, Master, you are here too? Although I don't agree with what you said, I accept your criticism. Master is right. I'm not broad-minded enough. My horizons are not broad enough, and I'm not friendly enough to others. I will definitely change and turn over a new leaf. As Fang Yen spoke, his eyes were still looking around. Because of the dense trees, it was difficult for Fang Yen to find traces of Tianjizi. What was even more strange was that Tianjizi's voice was very loud, but it seemed like only he could hear it. Fang Yen noticed a couple on a boat in the distance. They were chatting and laughing as usual, and he didn't notice anything strange. Clearly, this was a special method of voice transmission. Fang Yen quickly moved his foot away from Snake Lord's neck and said, "How about I give him back his eye? I didn't ask him to dig it out, and he dug it out before I could stop him. It's already a worldly possession, how can I let him put it back on? Then I should give it to Master as a filial piety." "I don't want those evil things that are stained with blood," Tianjizi said. "Since it's already in your hands, you should keep it well. Perhaps it is also a good deed. Also, when did I accept you as my disciple? When have you ever taken me as your master? Master and I hit it off the moment we met. The first time I saw you, I felt a sense of familiarity. At that time, I thought that I must make this great and outstanding man my master, Fang Yen said sincerely. You say? Tianto say? You? You almost angered me to death. If I didn't have enough willpower, I would have ended up like that snake lord. You dare to say you felt like old friends at first sight, bastard brat, you think you can hide your thoughts from me? That was a test for Master. Testing Master's cultivation and temperament, as well as Master's moral quality. Master was angered but not angry, insulted but not angry. You performed very well, even better than I expected. You make it sound good. You're trying to learn from my old wood meets spring, right? How can a rotten wood meet spring? When spring comes, the rotten wood will naturally sprout. When will spring come? Depends on the weather. Depends on the heavens' will. Fang Yan's expression was serious, closed his eyes and thought for a while, then said, Master, since you said so, you naturally have a way to deal with this snake lord. Just tell me, I will obey. You already know how to deal with him. He has 3 tribulations of fate with you. Fate has yet to end. Let him live, Tianjizi sighed. He is also a pitiful person. Fine. Then I will listen to Master, Fang Yen readily agreed. Tianjizi laughed and said, Bastard brat, if you want to be my disciple, you will need some luck. Wait until you have the heart of 3 jewels, then it won't be too late. Heart of 3 jewels. Fang Yen panicked and asked, Master, what are the 3 hearts? The heart of bravery, the heart of slaughter, the heart of justice. Fang Yen patted his chest and said, Master, I have them. I have them. Fang Yen unbuttoned his shirt, almost taking out his heart and placing it in front of Tianjizi. To become Fang Yan's disciple, he was willing to risk his life. Tianjizi laughed and said, Whether I have them or not is not up to you to decide. It is up to someone else. Who is that someone else? Ask him to examine me. Master, I really do have them. Just accept me, and tell me how a rotten wood meets spring? Take care of yourself, Tianjizi laughed and left. Master, you're really leaving? After waiting for a long time, he didn't hear Tianjizi's reply. What are you laughing for? I asked you a question, but you didn't even want to answer. Do you have the air of an enlightened master? Fang Yen angrily said. He was currently facing a bottleneck, thinking about it day and night, wanting to improve his cultivation. If he could comprehend the rotten wood meets spring technique, he would be able to push down the wall of illusions in front of him and step into the unknown place. That was the world that even the old drunkard was painstakingly searching for. Thinking that he might be able to walk ahead of the old drunkard and Yi Ro, Fang Yan's heart was burning. Bastard, Tianjizi's voice suddenly came. At the same time, Fang Yen felt a strong force slapping towards the boat. Fang Yen didn't dare to block it, letting the force blow his boat towards the west bank. Clang! The boat crashed into the stone wall on the shore. Fang Yen had already hugged Jiang Qin, whose sleeping acupoint he sealed, in his arms. As for the Snake Lord, with his constitution, he probably wouldn't care about such a degree of injury, right? Master, Fang Yen stood on the boat and shouted. No one answered. Master, still no one answered. Fang Yen finally relaxed. That Taoist priest must have really left this time. He's too cunning, he actually backstabbed me. Is there any trust between people? When Jiang Qin woke up, he was lying on a bench in the park. The moonlight was cool, and the chill was rising from the ground layer by layer. In the dark forest, there were birds and insects chirping, as well as the footsteps and whispers of tourists in the distance. Strangely, there were no mosquitoes. Not a single mosquito or insect appeared around Fang Yen and Jiang Qin. Fang Yen thought for a bit and understood. That was one of the effects of the Snake Lord's eye. Snakes were highly poisonous, and the Snake Lord's eye was the king of poisons. Now that it was in the leather bag in his arms, the smell and deterrence it emitted was not something that could be resisted by a few insects. Fang Yen thought that the Snake Lord's eye was really a good thing. If he cut it into 10 or 20 pieces and gave 1 piece to his grandmother, 1 piece to his grandfather, 1 piece to his grandparents, 1 piece to his parents, and all his relatives, it would be an excellent medicine to repel mosquitoes and poisons. He just didn't know if the Snake Lord would feel pain. Jiang Qin's long legs were placed on the chair, but her head was resting on Fang Yan's thigh. Her shoulder was covered with a coat. It was the coat that Fang Yan took off. Jiang Qin suddenly jumped up and exclaimed, "Toads! So many toads!" Fang Yan pressed Jiang Qin down on the chair and said with a smile, "The toads are gone. We are safe now." Fang Yan was worried that Jiang Qin would see too many bloody things, so he hid her sleep acupoint before the Snake Lord appeared. When Jiang Qin woke up, her consciousness was still the same as before she fainted. The afterimage of the toads was still overwhelming in her mind. Jiang Qin calmed down and looked at Fang Yan with concern. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Where are the toads?" "I drove them away." "That's scary." Fang Yan smiled and looked at Jiang Qin. "I'll take you back." Jiang Qin was silent for a while, then she stood up happily and said, "Okay." The two of them got up and stopped a taxi at the entrance of the park. They rushed to the urban village where Jiang Qin's family lived. They got off at the entrance of the alley. The teacher and student walked toward the same destination, one after another. Fang Yan stood at the door of Jiang Qin's courtyard and waited for Jiang Qin to come over. He said with a smile, "Forget what happened today. I won't go in." "What happened today?" Jiang Qin asked with a smile. Fang Yan smiled and said, "I won't see you two off tomorrow. Yuan Lin and I will wait for you in Yanjing after the holidays," Jiang Qin said. "If you don't come, we won't go back." Fang Yan smiled and said, "Then stay in Yanjing for the new year." Okay. Jiang Qin was excited. "Let's go to your house for the new year, okay? Will your parents be very happy? They will say, 'Yo, whose girl is so beautiful?' Ha ha ha." Fang Yan shook his head with a wry smile and turned to leave. Jiang Qin stood behind him and shouted, "Mr. Fang." Fang Yan turned around. Jiang Qin shook his arm and said, "Remember to wear the watch." Fang Yan raised his arm and showed the watch given by Jiang Qin. He said, "I'm wearing it." "Good night," Jiang Qin said happily. He opened the door and ran in. On the plane, in business class, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were wearing a black and white sweater, wearing colorful hats and a wide scarf around their neck. They looked like two beautiful dolls. On the whole plane, they were the most dazzling. Even the flight attendants couldn't help but look at them a few more times when they were busy. A middle-aged man on the opposite side of the aisle handed over a business card with an amiable smile on his face. He said, "You two girls are cute and have a fresh temperament. If you want to develop in the entertainment industry, I can help recommend you. By the way, I'm the director of All Big Stars. My surname is Huang and my name is Wei." Sister Lee grabbed the business card with her chubby hand and said with a bright face, "Are you really a director? Do you think I can go up? I can sing and do Yanko. If you don't believe me, I can sing a song for you first. You can help me test." Chapter 310. There were Bo Lu in the world, and then there would be 1,000 Li horse. Bo Lu was common, but 1,000 Li horse was rare. This was what Huang Wei felt after working for many years. There was no lack of handsome men and beautiful women in the entertainment circle, but there were very few talented stars. Beautiful women were everywhere, and it was rare to see someone who could sing and act well. After the era of Tang Zhong, there were only 2 or 3 stars who could be thrown to the international stage to support Hua Xia's entertainment circle. Xia Xia was an all-rounder, but her temperament was too calm, and she didn't fight for anything, so there was less excitement to watch. Therefore, Huang Wei felt that it was necessary to find more backup talents for the entertainment circle. When he saw Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, he had a feeling that his eyes lit up. It was not only because they were beautiful, but also because their temperament was quite attractive. Pure and untainted, pure and natural. Good seedlings. Huang Wei secretly praised in his heart. After observing them again and again, he felt that these two little girls were smart and lovely, and he wanted to take them under his hands. However, as a big shot, he told himself that he must be steady at this time. He hoped that what would happen next would be like this. The two girls would glance at him from time to time and discuss in low voices. Finally, one of them would take the initiative to greet him and ask if he was Mr. Huang Wei. He would nod his head reservedly and ask if he was Mr. Huang Wei. Then, they would have a pleasant conversation. The two girls would express their admiration for him, and he would implicitly praise them for their talent. Then, everyone would hit it off. But, why didn't they recognize him? The worst part was that they kept talking to each other with their heads close to each other. They did not even look in his direction. Huang Wei was really angry. Finally, when the plane began to fly, he couldn't help but take the initiative to hand over his business card. He could only be relieved when the matter was settled. A pair of rough fat hands suddenly appeared in front of Huang Wei, and he was so scared that he fell to the ground. His gaze was fixed on Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. In his eyes, there was only their every word and action, every frown and every smile. Where did this old witch jump out from? Who are you? Huang Wei asked with a bad expression. What he wanted was a young and beautiful girl. Why did you jump out at him? Huang Wei was not satisfied with Sister Li, and Sister Li was even more dissatisfied with Huang Wei. Pervert. This was Sister Li's first impression of Huang Wei. From the first time she saw Huang Wei, she saw this old man staring at her daughter and Yuan Lin. Of course, he mainly stared at her daughter, because her daughter was more beautiful. It was Sister Li's first time to take a plane. She was a little nervous and even a little airsick. So, she closed her eyes and rested as soon as she got on the plane. This was also the reason why Huang Wei completely ignored her. She hardly talked to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, which made Huang Wei misunderstand that she was an independent passenger. Although her eyes were closed, but of Sister Li, she was Huang's words. Although she was be. She, too, she said. Wei. Li. She insisted on not falling asleep, because she wanted to prevent this old man from laying his hands on her daughter. Sure enough, her waiting was not in vain. The old man began to give her his business card. Without a second thought, she snatched the name card from his hand. I'm a loyal fan of All Stars. I've watched every episode of your show. Sometimes I watch it when I'm cooking, sometimes I watch it when I'm washing clothes. If I go out to set up a stall, I watch the reruns when I come back. I love it. Sister Li's eyes were shining. She said excitedly, Fan? In that case, his attitude couldn't be too bad. If the news of the show's crew scolding the fans was exposed by the media, his personal image and the show's brand reputation would be seriously affected. Thank you for your support. Do you have any good suggestions? Huang Wei wanted to end the conversation with her because he didn't know what to say to this arrogant woman. I do have some good suggestions. All Stars is a good show, but it's a little out of touch. Your advertising slogan is that anyone can be a star. You also say that anyone who stands on the stage to participate in the talent show is a big star. But look, they're all handsome men and beautiful women. Isn't it fake? What kind of people are watching TV? They're all aunties like me. But has any aunties ever performed on stage? Has any aunties ever entered the top 8? Not to mention the top 4 and the champion. Auntie, this is our mistake. We will definitely correct it. Huang Wei explained. Who would want to watch a group of aunties on the stage? He had to think about the efficiency of the show. It's good that you will correct it. My suggestion was not in vain. Sisterly nodded happily. I'm not only your fan. I'm also a singer who has dreams and pursuits. I want to show my ability in the entertainment industry. Why don't you package me first? I won't let you down. Auntie, you have to consider this carefully. If the conditions are suitable, we will take the initiative to contact you. How is it not right? Look at Auntie Susan from America. She became so popular the moment she appeared on that show. Can't our Huaxia have a sisterly? I can't make this decision alone. Don't try to fool me. You just said that you're Huang Wei, the director of All Stars. You're the scriptwriter and director. Don't you have a lot of power? I also have to consider the attitude of the TV station. Then can you recommend someone for me? Who knows, it might work out. If I become as popular as Auntie Susan, you'll be my Bolo. The key is, what if you can't become popular? Then I'll become a joke in the industry. Of course, Huang Wei didn't dare to say this out loud. He was afraid that if he said it out loud, the auntie would slap him. He knew that in terms of combat ability, he was no match for Sisterly. I will consider it carefully, Huang Wei said. Do you mean you won't consider it? If you don't believe me, I'll sing for you. There's really no need. This is a plain. That's great. Let everyone listen and help me verify it. If everyone claps for me, you'll let me go on All Stars? Huang Wei didn't dare to bet with her. No matter how Sisterly sang, as long as she dared to sing in front of so many people on the plane, those who were not afraid of trouble would definitely applaud. You agree? Then shall we start? No need, no need. The plane started to take off. Huang Wei felt a little dizzy. Aren't you bullying me? I said that I will consider it carefully. I will definitely consider it carefully. When the time is right, I'll invite you to join our show. With that, Huang Wei quickly closed his eyes and covered his ears with his headphones. After being messed up by Sisterly, he forgot what he was going to do. Okay, I have your number. I'll call you when I'm free. Sisterly held Huang Wei's business card and said with a smile. When Huang Wei heard Sisterly's words, he wanted to snatch his business card back. But he knew that if he did that, it would be too rude and might cause public anger. He could only suppress this tempting idea. He thought, when you call, I'll set him as a sales advertisement. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin laughed until they couldn't breathe. Sisterly's performance today was too tough. Sisterly looked at Huang Wei and sneered. If you want to get my daughter, you have to go through me first. Then she lowered her head and said to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, this person doesn't look like a good person. Don't have any contact with him. Don't say a word to him. Also, the men outside are bad. You must be 100% careful. Jiang Qin hugged his mother's arm and said happily, Mom, don't worry. We'll be fine. Sisterly nodded and said, you guys chat. I'll sleep for a while. Oh my God, how did the plane suddenly soar so high? I'm a little dizzy. When Sisterly fell asleep, Yuan Lin gently poked Jiang Qin's arm and asked softly, you said you wanted to buy a gift for Mr. Fong this time. Did you get it? Did I say that? Jiang Qin's cheeks were slightly red. She lowered her head and played with the headphones in her hand. I've been staying at home with my parents. I didn't have time to choose a gift. Me too, Yuan Lin said with an unnatural expression. After pausing for a few minutes, Jiang Qin scratched his head in annoyance and said to Yuan Lin, I lied just now. I bought a watch for Mr. Fong. Me too, Yuan Lin said embarrassedly. I also chose a gift to send to him. The two girls looked at each other and smiled. The little knot between them instantly melted. At their age, there was nothing that could stop the friendship between them. Sisterly suddenly opened her eyes and stared at Jiang Qin. She asked, you bought a watch? How much is it? Is it the same as your dad's? It's not the same, Jiang Qin quickly said. That's good. Sisterly closed her eyes again. Mr. Fong really helped you a lot. It's only right to buy a gift that costs a few hundred yuan to thank him. You are still students. Even if you earn some money through your own efforts, you need to save it. There are many places where you need to spend money in the future. Jiang Qin really couldn't tell his mother that Mr. Fang's watch was more expensive than his dad's. Because Mr. Fang's watch was this year's new model. It was more fashionable. Chapter 3:11. Good morning, Teacher Zhang. Teacher Zhang looks so energetic today. Teacher Li, are you having tea? Teacher Qin, I knew the newspaper would be in your hands. When Fang Yan walked into the office, he greeted every teacher he met with a smile. Because Lu Chaoga had acquired Rosefinch, Fang Yan was Lu Chaoga's spokesperson in the school. Therefore, his seniority in the school was very low, but his status was very high. No one would come to attack or expel him. That would be asking for humiliation. However, Fang Yan was a good man who was neither arrogant nor conceited. Although he had made a comeback from the grassroots, he would not put on a high and mighty attitude. No matter which teacher he met, he would take the initiative to greet them. In the office, he would also do some small work like changing water and mopping the floor. He would even often share the good tea he got from his grandfather and Lu Chaoga with everyone to taste. He truly respected the elders, united his colleagues, treated people with sincerity, and tempted them with politeness. Because of Fang Yan's low profile and high profile, his colleagues treated Fang Yan differently. Everyone smiled when they saw him, and people often invited him to dinner parties. Of course, most of those dinner parties were declined by Fang Yan, because he really had more important things to do. Mr. Fang, I heard that your class fought with the students from Ivy League? They even beat up the students from Ivy League and sent them to the hospital? Teacher Zhang, who was wearing a red woolen coat, held the teacup in his hand and looked at Fang Yan and asked, Teacher Zhang, you heard about it too? Fang Yan asked with a smile. I heard about it too, Teacher Li said. I heard that Chang Qingting and the others are arguing, saying that they won't let us have it easy. I have a university classmate who is a teacher in the Ivy League's key class. It's common for students to have some friction between them. What right do they have to argue? What right do they have to say that they won't let us have it easy? In the past, when Ivy League students bullied our students, why didn't they have such a big reaction? Exactly. Their students are treasures, but our students are weeds? You've gone too far. Seeing the anger in the office and everyone standing on his side, Fang Yan felt warmth in his heart. Regardless of whether they were sincere or not, this feeling was much more blissful than when he faced all the storms alone in the past. Fang Yan smiled and said, Don't worry, everyone. The matter has been resolved. It's settled? Teacher Zhang asked with a puzzled face. Did you apologize? No. You're right. It's no use apologizing. If they don't let it go, Director Li Mingqiang or Vice President Chen will have to deal with it. They have high standards. Director Li Mingqiang and Vice Principal Chen should have just found out about this. Is that Principal Zhang? Fang Yan waved his hand and said, Headmaster Zhang is busy with work. How can he have time to deal with such a small matter? No one showed up? Teacher Li, who was skinny but had always been intelligent, looked at Fang Yan suspiciously and said, Ivy League is so easy to talk to this time? It wasn't like this in the past. Fang Yan smiled and said, Maybe they know they're in the wrong. At this moment, the deputy director of the principal's office, Zheng Jing, walked up. Zheng Jing was the person Jiang Huan arranged to assist or monitor Lu Chaoga in the school. After Lu Chaoga left, Zheng Jing became a useless chess piece. Jiang Zhulu gave up on him, and Lu Zhaoga wouldn't take him away. Therefore, he became a dispensable person in the office, and his life was very miserable. After not seeing him for a long time, Zheng Jing's fat face had lost a lot of weight. He looked at Fang Yan with a smile and said, Good morning, Mr. Fang. When I came, I thought you weren't in the office. I was going to go to your house, I didn't expect Mr. Fong to come to the office so early. Mr. Fong never leaves early and is never late, Teacher Zhang said aloud. That's right. If we can come, why can't Mr. Fong come at such a young age? Someone added. You're talking as if Mr. Fong is often not in the office. This attack was even more vicious. There was no problem with Xing Jing's words. If he still had the prestige of the previous deputy director, even if there was a problem with his words, everyone would pretend that they didn't see the problem. However, Xing Jing, who was now hated by everyone in the school, had offended a large group of people because of a sentence to please Fong Yan. That loophole was infinitely magnified. If they were allowed to continue, Xing Jing would become a heinous criminal who would be dragged out and thrown into the frying pan of hell. There was no anger or embarrassment on Xing Jing's chubby face. He just kept bowing to the teachers and said, I said the wrong thing, I said the wrong thing, I should be punished. Before the holidays, I'll treat everyone to a meal as an apology. Everyone in this office, please give me a chance to apologize. Xing Jing's posture was so humble that no one dared to attack him again. Fong Yan looked at Xing Jing's performance and asked, What did Director Xing want from me? It's the deputy director. The deputy director. Xing Jing corrected him seriously. The smile on his face was thick. It could be said that he was joking, but it could also be said that he was very serious about the way he addressed him. After this incident, Fong Yan finally realized Xing Jing's excellence. Mr. Fong, Principal Zhang asked me to invite you to his office. Principal Zhang Xiaofeng? Do you know what's the matter? Fong Yan looked confused. Something good, Xing Jing said with a smile. When I went in, I overheard a few words. It was Principal Zhong Dei from the Ivy School who came to apologize. Principal Zhang thought that you should go and show your face. Ivy School apologizing? And it was Principal Zhong Dei of the Ivy School who came to apologize personally? That crazy principal? That Zhong Dei who said that as long as he was in the Ivy School would suppress the Flower City High Middle School? Hiss, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. All the teachers present were filled with excitement. They felt that this was an exhilarating and gratifying matter for everyone. Fong Yan's eyes were slightly confused, but he immediately understood. For so many years, the Vermilion Birds' results had always been suppressed by the Ivy League, and the Ivy League was extremely proud and arrogant. In many of the exchanges between the two schools, the Ivy League had never shown the slightest mercy, and they had beaten the Vermilion Bird until there was not a single piece of skin left unscathed. The teachers who had worked in the Vermilion Bird for many years or even decades felt that humiliation too deeply. Is there anything more painful than them hurting you and not taking you seriously? Now that they heard that the crazy principal of the Ivy School came to the school personally to apologize, it was not strange for them to have such a reaction. Fong Yan, what's going on? Why did Zhong Dei come personally? Yes, that's Zhong Dei. Has he ever come to our Rosefinch before? Yes. At that time, an official from the Department of Education asked him to evaluate his competitor, Rosefinch. He said that Rosefinch was not his competitor. Fong Yan smiled and said, It's good that he came. I'll go take a look. Hurry up. Don't let Principal Zhang wait too long. The teachers urged one after another. Originally, Xing Jing led the way in front and led Fong Yan to the administrative building where the principal was. However, after going out, Xing Jing habitually fell behind Fong Yan by one step. Fong Yan did not turn his head and said, There's no need. You know I don't care about this. That's because Mr. Fong is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. I can't let people say that I don't have manners. Xing Jing replied with a smile. Xing Jing, why didn't you leave? Fong Yan asked aloud. Xing Jing's face darkened and he said dispiritedly, Leave? I have to leave eventually. I knew that this day would come sooner or later, but I still had a trace of illusion in my heart. I was a dog abandoned by that person in the school. I would follow wherever he chased me, and I would bite whoever he told me to bite. I understand the logic of a new ruler having a new court. I offended you and betrayed Principal Liu. When the news that Principal Liu bought Rosefinch came out, I knew my fate. Jing Jing sighed softly and said, "But I was reluctant to do so. I liked the school and the relaxed and comfortable atmosphere of the school. I was really tired of those intrigues. But, out of the school, where doesn't there need to be intrigues? There are also intrigues in the school. After all, it's much simpler and simpler. To tell you the truth, everyone thought that I was in a difficult situation during this period of time and lived a miserable life. But they didn't know that this period of time was the most comfortable and happy life I had since I entered Rosefinch. I didn't have to be stuck between Principal Liu and that person. I didn't have to worry about what to do with Principal Liu today. I didn't have to follow Principal Liu all day like a thief. Under Principal Liu's gaze, I often felt that I couldn't breathe. I was a spy, and the place where I was undercover knew that I was a spy. Do you think that kind of life is for a person? Now that Principal Liu left, that person also felt that I had no value and kicked me away. So what if I was laughed at by my colleagues? So what if I listened to a few sarcastic remarks? Compared to that kind of torture before, it was like living in heaven now. So I have been waiting. I knew that as long as you didn't say anything, no one would take the initiative to kick me out. I have been waiting for you to say something. Sometimes I also prayed, hoping that you would forget me, a nobody, and let me idle away in this Rosefinch for the rest of my life. Jing Jing's face was sad and said, "Since you said it today, it seems that I can't hide anymore. I will write my resignation letter today." Fang Yan had already stopped and looked at Jing Jing's performance with a strange expression, saying, "You must have practiced for a long time for this day, right?" Jing Jing looked at Fang Yan with a face full of horror. Was this guy a demon? How could he know everything? Chapter 312. Don't look so shocked. Am I that stupid in your heart? Fang Yan said with a sneer. How did you know? Jing Jing asked with a bitter expression. Your performance just now was exactly the same as the first day I came to Rosefinch. I practiced my expressions and mouth shapes in front of the mirror for a long time, and I think you are no exception. The answer that Fang Yan threw out made Jing Jing feel like he was in heaven and wanted to die. Did he accidentally walk the same path that Fang Yan walked before? Also, you have been deliberately lowering your stance recently. You really did not fight back when you were hit or scolded. When people in the office attacked and ostracized you, you looked miserable but did not argue. Even Principal Zhang could not stand it anymore, and intentionally or unintentionally asked you to do something to prevent you from being completely treated like air. There are so many people in the principal's office. Why did Principal Zhang ask you to come to me? Not everyone has the opportunity to run errands for the principal. Just now in the Chinese team office, everyone was nitpicking you and mocking you, but you repeatedly apologized and even wanted to treat everyone to a meal. If the director could do such a humiliating thing, who could bear to do it? Jing Jing, you don't want to leave, and you have never thought that you would leave. Am I right? Jing Jing was like a thief who had been stripped naked, standing in front of Fang Yan, trembling and saying with an embarrassed expression, I also thought that I would leave. Because I did not believe that I could get past you. You are not like the others. Yes. Principal Zhang and the others are all well educated, and their hearts are full of righteousness. As long as you lower your head and show weakness, everyone will feel sorry for you and feel that they should sympathize with you. Jing Jing, you can't bully scholars like this. I will go back and write my resignation report now, Jing Jing said quickly. Resign. There is really no place for you here, Fang Yan said. He looked at Jing Jing playfully and said, however, if you are interested, I can recommend you to work at another place. That job should be more challenging for you. Jing Jing looked excited and asked, where? Chaoyan Technology. Jing Jing didn't expect Fang Yan to push him to Lu Chaoga's side again. His former master, a woman he had betrayed. His throat was dry as he said with difficulty, "Aren't you afraid that I'll betray you?" "You wouldn't dare," Fang Yan said with a smile. "In the past, you betrayed Lu Chaoga. She didn't say anything, and I pretended not to see it. If you betray me this time, the one who will be betrayed will be me. By the way, I forgot to tell you that I recently raised a little snake. Come to my place for snake wine when you have time." Zhang Xiaofeng's office door was wide open. Zhang Xiaofeng did this on purpose. Ivy League's fanatic headmaster, Zhong Dei, personally came to Rosefinch to apologize. This kind of thing naturally had to be seen by everyone who could see it. Zhong Dei was tall and had a big beard. He was wearing a long black trench coat and tie. He didn't look like a high school headmaster, but more like a very stylish artist. Therefore, when Fang Yan walked to the door, he didn't need anyone to announce him. He looked at Zhong Dei's eyes. Sharp, overbearing, with a strong penetrating power. Some people said that reading thousands of books was like writing a god. Zhong Dei was the headmaster of Ivy League and had seen more than 10,000 people. Therefore, there was a very special look in his eyes. It was as if there were no secrets in his eyes. Your little schemes were not even worth mentioning in front of him. Moreover, Fang Yan was keenly aware that when Zhong Dei turned around and looked at him, there was a subtle change in his mood. He was deliberately creating pressure for himself. If it were other young teachers in the school, they would not be able to speak or walk when they met such an oppressive look from Zhong Dei, whose status was so different from theirs. They didn't even dare to look him in the eyes. But Fang Yan was Fang Yan. He was a guy who even dragged out the Japanese sword god and beat him up. Why would he care about Zhong Dei's little power? Fang Yan walked into the office naturally and greeted Zhang Xiaofeng respectfully. He said with a smile, "Headmaster Zhang, are you looking for me?" Since Zhang Xiaofeng hadn't introduced Zhong Dei's identity, Fang Yan naturally wouldn't take the initiative to greet him. That would only show that he didn't know what was good for him and betray Jingjing's act of informing him. Zhong Dei's eyes were slightly surprised. He observed Fang Yan quietly. Zhang Xiaofeng was very satisfied with Fang Yan's performance. He said with a smile, "Fang Yan, come, let me introduce you to a senior, Headmaster Zhong Dei of Ivy League High School. Headmaster Zhong is a very busy person and is an important guest that we usually can't invite. Today, he specially came to our Rosefinch to see you. You have contributed greatly." Only then did Fang Yan turn to look at Zhong Dei. He took the initiative to extend his hand and said, "Hello, Headmaster Zhong. You're too polite. If there's anything, I'll go over immediately. How can I let Headmaster Zhong personally come over?" Zhong Dei grabbed Fang Yan's hand and shook it vigorously. His palm was big and thick, and his strength was ferocious. It felt like bones were breaking when he shook it. However, he once again kicked an iron plate. No matter how much strength he used, Fang Yan had a calm expression. It was as if the hand that Zhong Dei held didn't belong to him at all. Zhong Dei's expression became extremely strange. He laughed and said, "Good lad, as expected of a famous star teacher in Huaqing. I've heard of your great name a long time ago. I thought that the outside world was deliberately flattering you. How can there be such a magical person in this world? Now that I've met you, you really live up to your reputation. Now I'm completely convinced. Just now I tried to probe you a few times, but you acted like nothing happened. It's not unjust that the group of brats from my school fell into your hands." Fang Yan was shocked. This Zhong Dei was indeed not an ordinary person. It was rare to see someone who could bully someone in the dark, treat it as an embarrassing incident, and openly praise the person he had bullied as a talent. Most importantly, what did he mean when he said that the group of brats from his school fell into his hands? It was as if he had deliberately set them up. Fang Yan wasn't someone who liked to suffer losses, no matter who the person was. Headmaster Zhong tried to probe me? Why didn't I know anything about it? Fang Yan asked with a blank expression. Did Headmaster Zhong remember wrongly? I feel that Headmaster Zhong is very kind and warm to people. You see, he held my hand for a long time and didn't let go. I rarely see such an approachable leader. The anger in Zhong Dai's eyes flashed, and then he let go of Fang Yan's hand. He turned to look at Zhang Xiaofeng and said, Look, old Zhang, your little Mr. Fang isn't simple, he's challenging me. He said that my probe was too childish, and didn't even have the power to be noticed. Although the two schools were competing, and the relationship between the two was definitely not harmonious, they still had to give face to the head of the school, and the dignity of the headmaster still had to be maintained. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Zhong Dai with a smile and said, Headmaster Zhong, you can't blame me for this. Did you hear what Teacher Fang Yan said just now? He said that it's rare to see such an approachable leader like you. I've been dealing with him all day, and I've never seen him praise me like this. You're warm and friendly, and he didn't think twice when he spoke to you. This is a matter between the two of you, it's not my fault. Zhong Dai nodded and said, Well, your door has been open for a long time. My old face has also been seen hundreds of times. Should we close the door now and talk about business? Zhang Xiaofeng didn't admit or deny his intention to embarrass Zhong Dai, and said aloud, Jing, close the door. Jing nodded and quickly walked over to close the office door, and then left. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Zhong Dai and asked with a smile, Headmaster Zhong, what is the business you want to talk about? Zhong Dai looked at Fang Yan with a burning gaze and said, What conditions do you want to drop the charges against our school's students? I don't understand what Headmaster Zhong means. Fang Yan said. Zhong Dai's expression was slightly angry and said, Young people occasionally pretend to be crazy to adjust the atmosphere and make people laugh, but if they continue to be silly, it will be disappointing. I really don't understand what Headmaster Zhong means. Fang Yan said again. You don't understand? Standing behind Zhong Dai, Fang Jianhong, the dean of the Ivy League school, who was completely out of the limelight and whom Fang Yan had met once before, jumped out with a face full of anger and said, A student from your class injured a student from our school, and even now our student is lying on a hospital bed. You dare to say that you don't know what happened? Fang Yan looked at Fang Jianhong with a smile and said, When did I say that I don't know what happened? I said that I don't understand what Headmaster Zhong means. Director Fang, language is the foundation of communication, you should put some effort into it. You're going too far. Fang Jianhong really wanted to rush up and grab Fang Yan a few times. Even a bite would do. Zhong Dai merely swept a glance over, and Fang Jianhong immediately retreated to the corner, ceasing his banners and ceasing his drums. Zhong Dai looked at Fang Yan and said, If you don't understand, I can explain it to you. What I mean is that a student from your class beat up a student from our school, and now the one who is injured and hospitalized is our student. We suffered a loss, and we can bear the medical expenses ourselves. Shouldn't you be lenient when possible? If you continue to tangle like this, it will seriously affect the relationship between our two schools, won't it? Fang Yan looked at Zhang Xiaofeng and asked, Headmaster Zhong didn't come to apologize? This question was really difficult for Zhang Xiaofeng to answer. If that's the case, then I'll go back first, Fang Yan said. I have 2 classes this morning, and the students are still waiting in the classroom. With that, Fang Yan turned and walked toward the door. Zhong Dai was stunned for a few seconds, then pointed at Fang Yan's back and laughed, saying, People in the circle call me Headmaster Kwangtu, but I didn't expect to see a Kwangtu teacher who is even more arrogant than me. Interesting. Really interesting. Chapter 3:13. There are 2 things, says Kant, that the more often and persistently I think about them, the more the mind is enriched by their ever-growing fascination and reverence, the starry sky above me and the moral code within me. Everyone has their own moral code in their heart. Some pursue interests, and some pursue the truth. Some call a deer a horse, and some disobey the king. Some cover the sky, and some die a righteous death without fear of death. Some think that what is right, and what is wrong. Some think that what is right can be said to be wrong, and what is wrong can also be right. In the eyes of outsiders, Fang Huohua has no moral integrity most of the time. But when it comes to the red line of his moral code, not everyone can fuck him. In the eyes of outsiders, Fang Huohua has no moral integrity most of the time. But when it comes to the red line of his moral code, he can't be messed with easily. Jiang Zhulu bullied Lu Chaoga, who has no parents and no one to rely on. Fang Huohua was filled with righteous indignation and fought with the son of a rich family. Yi Rou repeatedly provoked him and beat him. He clenched his teeth and secretly wrote down all the atrocities Yi Rou had done to him in his diary. Every stroke, every tear, every word, every blood, good and evil will be rewarded. If you don't believe it, look up and see who will be spared by heaven. Fang Huohua firmly believes that heaven or God will get justice for him. What kind of person is Fang Huohua? He is an outstanding and peerless man who hasn't gotten rid of his vulgar interests but is noble and pure. In the face of such a person who is like a judge of justice, what can a principal of an Ivy League school do to me? Therefore, after hearing Zhong Dei call him Teacher Kuangtu, Fang Yan suddenly turned around. In his most handsome posture, Fang Yan stared at Zhong Dei with burning eyes. His face was like the bright moon and the sun, so holy that it could be used as a mirror. To tell the truth, what's so crazy about sticking to the bottom line of human nature and the moral code that people abide by every day? In terms of age, I am your elder. In terms of rank, I am your superior. In terms of working years, I am your senior. You are disrespectful to your superior, disrespectful to your elders, and disrespectful to your seniors. Isn't that crazy? Compared to respecting my boss, I respect the truth more. The students of the Ivy League school had repeatedly provoked the students of my class, insulted them, and attacked them. The most tragic thing was that they still hadn't won. Shouldn't such students be punished? Shouldn't such a truth be known by everyone? Just now, Principal Zhong said that it was not unjust for your students to be defeated by me. I beg to differ. If they study hard and make progress every day, don't fight, don't scold people, don't spit on the ground, and even help old grannies cross the road when they have nothing to do, I will only praise them and call on my students to learn from them. How could I possibly have a conflict with them? They were the ones who made the mistake first, and I was the one who blamed them later. They jumped into the ditch in front of me, and all I had to do was pour a shovelful of dirt over their heads. I respect my elders, but that depends on what kind of elders they are. For example, our school's principal Zhang Xiaofeng is erudite and knowledgeable. He is neither arrogant nor rash and is sincere to others. He loved his colleagues and helped the younger generation. He made every teacher in our school feel the warmth of home and loved every student as if they were their own children. Would I not respect such an elder? As for Principal Zhong's accusation that I have no modesty toward my elders, this accusation is even more difficult for me to accept. I know that there is a famous educator in Huaqing whose surname is Lu, and he is known as the Prime Minister of Education. After old Mr. Lu returned from studying abroad, he immediately threw himself into the cause of strengthening the education of Huaqing. He pulled in investments, promoted reforms, visited famous schools, and invited famous teachers. He single-handedly saved the current state of Huaqing's education. Although I don't know old Mr. Lu, every time I hear about his deeds, my blood boils, and every time I think about it, my eyes fill with tears. He is the role model of us educators, and my true idol. My biggest dream is to be able to meet old Mr. Liu and be fortunate enough to receive his teachings. Is this because I have no modesty? Everyone stared blankly at the furious Fang Yen. They didn't expect his counterattack against Zhong Dei to be so intense. Furthermore, it was reasonable and hard to refute. The one who was the most shocked was Zhang Xiaofeng. He really couldn't imagine how Fang Yen could say that he and old Mr. Liu Gong didn't know each other. If they ate breakfast together every morning, wouldn't that be considered as knowing each other? What kind of contact would be considered as knowing each other? If the master was humiliated, the subject had to die. Zhong Dei was practically scolded by this little brat, Fang Yen. Fang Jianhong felt that his leader had been insulted, and he had to stand up for him. However, he jumped out and opened his mouth a few times, feeling as if he had momentarily forgotten what to say. Why couldn't he remember what he wanted to say? Zhong Dei's expression was dark and uncertain, and it changed many times before finally returning to normal. He suddenly laughed out loud, pointed at Fang Yen and said, "Good lad. You taught me a lesson today. Interesting. Really interesting. Looks like I have to say sorry today." Fang Yen looked at Zhong Dei and said, "I don't care if Principal Zhong says sorry or not, because it's not important to me." "Then what's important to you?" "I care more about whether Principal Zhong is sincerely apologizing, and whether he truly feels that his school's students have made a mistake." The muscles on Zhong Dei's face twitched. This brat really cared about a lot of things? However, for Zhong Dei to have the status he had today, he naturally had his outstanding points. With a deeply moved expression, he looked at Zhang Xiaofeng with a serious expression and said sincerely, "Principal Zhang, I apologize to your school on behalf of the Ivy League students. It's our fault for not disciplining them properly and causing you trouble." Zhong Dei apologized to Rosefinch on behalf of the Ivy League and expressed his attitude. Zhang Xiaofeng could no longer pretend to be a mute bodhisattva in the middle. If he did that, it would be tantamount to completely falling out with the Ivy League. He hurriedly stood up and pulled Zhong Dei's hand. "Old Zhong, how many years have we been old buddies? Is there a need to be so serious about the matter of a few children?" Little Mr. Fang said it well. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. If the children do something wrong, we can't blindly indulge them. When I was young, my mother taught me that if I steal a needle when I'm young, I'll steal a cow when I grow up. If the children make mistakes, we have to work hard to help them correct their mistakes. If we blindly help them hide, what's the use of us teachers? What Principal Zhong said is extremely right. Imparting knowledge is only one of the reasons. The most important thing is to help the students establish a correct outlook on life and values. Principal Zhang Xiaofeng echoed. Zhong Dei looked at Fang Yen and said, "Little Mr. Fang, we will definitely deal with those students who made mistakes seriously. At that time, we will send you a copy of the handling opinions." Fang Yen hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Principal Zhong, I believe you. Since you said so, I believe that you will definitely deal with it impartially. However, there is one thing that I still need little Mr. Fang to be magnanimous about." Zhong Dei said with a smile, "This matter has been brought to the Education Department. The Education Department has a lot of opinions about the Ivy League. You see, why don't we go together to explain to the Education Department? Let's say that this is just a small conflict between a few students?" "No problem." Fang Yen nodded. "We are willing to cooperate with Principal Zhong's work." Fang Yen was willing to accept the Ivy League's request for peace, but he made it very clear that they agreed to do this because of Principal Zhong's face. "Principal Zhong, you will owe the Rosefinch High School a big favor." Zhong Dei looked at Fang Yen with admiration and said, "It's easy to get 1,000 troops, but it's hard to find a good general. Little Mr. Fang is talented. Are you interested in working at our Ivy League? I'm not bragging to you, but in terms of teachers and reputation in the industry, Our Ivy League high school is much better than Rosefinch High School. As long as little Mr. Fong agrees, you can lead any class you want. By the way, I still lack an assistant. If you are interested in developing in the field of administration, I'm also happy to see it. What do you think? Zhang Xiaofeng was furious. He pointed at Zhong Dei and scolded, "Old Zhong, just now you lowered your head and begged for help. Now that the matter is settled, you start to belittle me, Rosefinch, and poach our students?" Zhong Dei laughed and said, "Treasures belong to the virtuous. Look at my name, there's a D in it. Who else will he follow if not me?" Zhang Xiaofeng sneered and said, "Old Zhong, I'm afraid you've miscalculated this time." "What do you mean?" "Old Zhong, you've personally asked. I'm afraid any teacher in our school will be tempted to follow you, except for me. But he won't. No matter what you offer, he won't leave." Zhong Dei looked at Fang Yan with a puzzled look and asked, "You signed a long-term contract with them?" "No." "Is the penalty a lot?" "Not really." "Then why?" Zhong Dei was even more puzzled. "Do you think that our Ivy League isn't as good as Rosefinch? Or do you think that I, Zhong Dei, have a bad character and am not worthy of your following?" "Because Rosefinch is his," Zhang Xiaofeng said mockingly. Zhong Dei looked at Fang Yan in shock and said, "Wasn't Rosefinch bought by Lu Chaoga?" Soon, he had a look of realization on his face. He patted Fang Yan's shoulder and said, "Great, great. A talented man and a beautiful woman, a match made in heaven." Fang Yan couldn't help but smile bitterly. Weren't they thinking too much? "Old Zhong, what did you say just now? In terms of teachers and reputation in the industry, your school is so much better than Rosefinch?" Zhang Xiaofeng didn't forget the pain of Zhong Dei's poaching. "Did I say that?" Zhong Dei pretended to be confused and said, "I said Ivy League and Rosefinch are inseparable, right?" Everyone looked at each other and laughed. Chapter 3:14. When Fang Yan sent Zhong Dei and Fang Jianhong out, after Fang Yan and Zhong Dei finished exchanging greetings, Fang Jianhong walked up to Fang Yan with an awkward expression and said, "Mr. Fang, my tone was too harsh that day, and my words were inappropriate. I hope you don't take it to heart." When they first met at the hospital, Fang Jianhong saw that Rosefinch High School had only sent a young teacher to deal with the problem, so he was angry and felt that he had been belittled and insulted. He even threatened to have their head of teaching come over, saying that Fang Yan's rank was too low to negotiate with him. He had just heard Principal Zhang Xiaofeng reveal that Fang Yan was actually the big boss behind Rosefinch High School. Putting this explosive news together with what he had said to Fang Yan last time, he felt ashamed. Fang Yan was a board member of a famous school, and his position as a head of teaching was really nothing in his eyes, right? If he wanted to, he could change a head of teaching at any time. If he had any bad habits, he could even change heads of teaching every day. Even Principal Zhang Xiaofeng loved him, and Principal Zhong Dei was his friend. What he said was really a slap in the face. Fang Yan naturally understood the reason for Fang Jianhong's apology, and said with a smile, "Your Principal Zhong has already apologized, so you don't need to apologize anymore. Your rank is not high enough, Director Fang, let bygones be bygones. In the future, let's look at the situation first before looking at the person, okay?" Mr. Fang is right, I will definitely learn from this lesson, and look at the situation first before looking at the person in the future. "Thank you, Mr. Fang, for your understanding," Fang Jianhong said gratefully. Zhong Dei didn't ask about the reason for the conflict between Fang Yan and Fang Jianhong, because that would only make Fang Jianhong look like a naked clown. As a superior, he wouldn't embarrass his subordinate like that. He looked at Fang Yan and said, "Do you really worship Mr. Lu Gong that much? Mr. Lu is a highly respected educator in our Huaqing, and it is appropriate for the Premier to call him the Prime Minister of the academic world. Which scholar in Huaqing didn't respect and love him? I've met old Mr. Lu a few times. If you're interested, I can take you to visit old Mr. Liu. I'm sure he won't reject an excellent educator who's dedicated to learning. Fang Yen sincerely expressed his gratitude and said, "Thank you, Headmaster Zhong, but what?" Zhong Dei asked. He looked at Fang Yen with bright eyes and said, "Are you worried that you will be too nervous to see your idol? I don't think you're that kind of person." "I'm not nervous seeing my idol. I was a little nervous when I saw Grandfather." "Grandfather?" Zhong Dei and Fang Jianhong looked at Fang Yen in confusion. Fang Yen knew that if he continued to hide it, he would be deliberately deceiving her. He said embarrassedly, "Lu Gong is my grandfather. He has a bad temper." As Zhong Dei and Fang Jianhong fled in the car, the Audi they were driving nearly crashed into the tree trunks and protective belts by the roadside several times. Fang Yen sighed softly. It must have been difficult for them to calm down for a long time, right? When Fang Yen returned to Zhang Xiaofeng's office, the old man had made tea again. He pointed to the seat opposite him and said, "Come, sit down and have a cup of tea with me. Other people can't wait to come to my office every day, but you can't see me for many years. Why? Are you afraid that people will gossip?" Fang Yen said with a smile, "I'm afraid that I'll cause trouble for the headmaster. If I come here every day and you make tea for me every day, won't you be annoyed?" "Then can't you make tea for me?" "I want to make a cup of good tea every day to flatter the headmaster, but the problem is that the tea I can't make won't taste as good as the headmaster's." Zhang Xiaofeng laughed heartily and said, "This sentence is the best flattery." The two laughed for a while. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Fang Yen and asked, "What do you think of Zhong Dei?" "He's brave, smart, and decisive," Fang Yen praised. "Yes. The reason why Ivy League High can stay green is because of his old vine," Zhang Xiaofeng said with emotion. "Rosefinch has been suppressed by Ivy League for so many years, it's really not acceptable." Fang Yen looked at Zhang Xiaofeng with a puzzled expression and said, "Headmaster, what do you mean?" Zhang Xiaofeng smiled and said, "Fang Yen, you're the most perceptive young man I've ever seen. Sometimes I'm really curious, how does your brain work? Your heart should have 9 times 9 and 81 bends, right?" "Headmaster, you're scolding me," Fang Yen said with a smile. "To be honest, I don't have any friendship with Zhong Dei. He's a proud and arrogant person, and very few people are worthy of his attention. He took the initiative to invite you to be his assistant, which proves that he really treats you differently. Headmaster, you're not trying to force me to jump ship, are you? I'm telling you, I'm born under Rosefinch, and I'll die under Rosefinch's dead. I will never do something like job hopping," Fang Yen hurriedly swore. Zhong Dei, that schemer, would Headmaster Zhang be suspicious of him after he tried to poach him in front of him? "What are you thinking about?" Zhang Xiaofeng laughed. "What I mean is, we can poach Headmaster Zhong Dei to Rosefinch. You're half a member of Rosefinch's family, and he's very fond of you. If you come forward and do this, I'm sure he won't reject. That won't do. I still think Headmaster Zhang is more suitable to be Rosefinch's headmaster," Fang Yen said. "You flatterer." Zhang Xiaofeng scolded Fang Yen, but his face was full of smiles. Back when Headmaster Chaoga was still at school, he had a fierce fight with Mr. Zheng's people, and I stayed between the two sides without saying a word. On one hand, I wanted to maintain my superior position, and on the other hand, I'm getting old and I'll be retiring in a year. Why should I piss someone off now? Wouldn't it be better to leave a way out for myself and my children? Headmaster Zhang is wise. I'd do the same if I were him, Fang Yen said in a comforting voice. But things are different now. Mr. Zheng sold the school to Chaoga, and Chaoga has gone out to start her own business. I thought that after I retired, I'd let Chaoga be the headmaster. She's capable, driven, and innovative. The students are lucky to have someone like her as their headmaster. But now that Chaoga has left, the other vice-headmasters all have their own problems. She's more than enough to manage one side of the school, but it's too much for her to be the headmaster of the whole school. Is that why you're trying to get Headmaster Zhong? He was the one who set his sights on our school's talent. He wanted to poach a teacher from me, so I poached his headmaster, Zhang Xiaofeng said heroically. How about we decide that Zhong Dai will be the next headmaster of Rosefinch? Fang Yan smiled and said, I'll talk to Miss Liu about it. She'll have the final say. Just tell her. Zhang Xiaofeng was in a good mood now that he had achieved his goal. Headmaster Zhang, Miss Liu and I are really not what you think. Really? What kind of relationship do you have? Lu Chaoge was very busy every day. Ever since the accident at the Underground Research Institute, they had cross-checked all the staff in Chaoyan Technology. He did find 2 suspicious people among the outer staff, but he didn't find any problems in the underground research lab. Chaoyan had just been established, and some people were a little late. The people they sent out couldn't enter the core area for the time being. It was said that products that used the Rubik's Cube technology had already appeared. With Fang Yan's help, Lu Chaoge also signed a sales contract with the Lan Family Trading Company, where Lan Mountain Valley was located. Of course, in order to prevent the Lan family from monopolizing the market, Lu Chaoge only signed a part of the agency rights with them. She also signed a distribution contract with the Qin family represented by Qin Etienne and the Lu family represented by Lu Shu. These 3 families depended on each other and competed with each other. It was the safest and most reasonable cooperation model. Thinking about it carefully, Fang Yan hadn't seen Lu Chaoge for a long time. Lu Chaoge had a cold personality, and the 2 of them didn't even have the chance to talk to each other. On the other hand, Grandma was a warm-hearted person. She had always wanted to matchmake them. From time to time, she would call Lu Chaoge to come over for dinner. Of course, at that time, Fang Yan would naturally be called back by Grandma to accompany her. At this moment, the phone in Fang Yan's pocket rang. Fang Yan looked at Principal Zhang Xiaofeng apologetically and said, Principal Zhang, I'll pick up the phone. It's okay. Pick it up, Zhang Xiaofeng said with a smile. Fang Yan took out his phone and saw that the caller ID was Lu Chaoge's phone number. Fang Yan looked at Zhang Xiaofeng and turned his body slightly to the side. After picking up the phone, he asked, Chaoge, what's the matter? Fang Yan, are you busy? Lu Chaoge's tone was very calm, but Fang Yan could feel that her tone was slightly trembling. I'm fine. Where are you? Fang Yan asked anxiously. What happened? I'm on my way to Maya Hospital. Auntie, she might not be able to hold on any longer, Lu Chaoge said weakly. I'm on my way, Fang Yan said. After hanging up, Fang Yan looked at Principal Zhang Xiaofeng and said, Principal, I need to take a leave of absence. There's something urgent that I have to deal with. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Fang Yan with understanding and said, Go ahead. I'll ask the dean's office to arrange for someone to take your place. However, the final exam is coming up. The 9th class achieved amazing results last time, so we can't fall behind this time. Fang Yan got up and left in a hurry. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Fang Yan's back and carefully tasted the tea in his hand. He said, You guys are in the kind of relationship that I think. Both of you are young. You're not married and she's not married. What's there to hide? Zhang Xiaofeng couldn't understand Fang Yan and Lu Chaoge's behavior. At their age, if they really fell in love, shouldn't they want the whole world to share their happiness? Chapter 3:15. Mayan Hospital was a private hospital owned by the nobility. It belonged to an international pharmaceutical group and was not open to ordinary people. When Fang Yan arrived at Mayan Hospital, he was even stopped by the security guard at the door. In the eyes of the security guard, it was rare to see people who came here by taxi. There were enough parking lots in the hospital. Generally, rich people drove their own cars and did not need to worry about parking. Fang Yan repeatedly explained that he was here to visit the patient, but the security guard refused to let him pass and asked Fang Yen to call the hospital for confirmation. The security guard was professional, and it was impossible for Fang Yen to beat him up like in some novels because he looked down on him. When Fang Yen took out his mobile phone and was about to call Lu Chaoge for help, a white BMW sports car slowly approached. The window rolled down, and sitting in the driver's seat was a young woman wearing sunglasses. Her eyes could not be seen, and most of her oval face was covered. She had long, wine-red curly hair, which looked a little strange. The woman handed over a black card. The security guard took the card and swiped it. He immediately saluted and let them pass. The woman did not drive away immediately. She looked at Fang Yen thoughtfully and said to the security guard, "Let him in. He is here to visit the patient." After that, the car started and rushed inside. The security guard made an inviting gesture to Fang Yen and said embarrassedly, "You can go in." "Who is she?" Fang Yen asked curiously. Hearing Fang Yan's question, the security guard's attitude toward Fang Yen became vigilant again. He said, "You don't know her?" "Of course I know her. I just want to ask if you know her." Fang Yen made up a story. "She is my cousin. Her name is Hebe. I don't know who she is, but that lady is the most distinguished black card member of Mayan Hospital," the security guard said respectfully. Fang Yen felt sour in his heart and said angrily, "What's so great about a VIP in the hospital?" After that, he strode over to the inpatient department of Mayan Hospital. Fang Yen saw Lu Chaoge in the ward and also saw his aunt lying on the bed. Little Aunt had an oxygen tube inserted into her nose. Her breathing was rapid and her heartbeat was weak. She seemed to be in a very bad condition. The doctor was busy injecting all kinds of expensive liquids into her body, and 2 nurses were recording her vital signs. Lu Chaoge stood at the entrance, her eyes sad like an injured lone goose. Fang Yen stood behind her. He wanted to say something to comfort her, but he couldn't say anything. Most of the time, the power of words was rather weak. Originally, I had already given up all hope. I thought that I no longer had any family in this world. The only thing I can inherit is hatred. Lu Chaoge took the initiative to speak. When Auntie suddenly contacted me, I thought it was another scam. Because for so many years, I had experienced too many scams. I even woke up in a scam every day and fell asleep in a scam. I felt that I couldn't hold on any longer. I even thought that if it wasn't for hatred that kept me going, I might have died a long time ago. Fortunately, she is indeed my aunt. Although she has changed, I can't recognize her. We also quarreled, and I opposed many of the decisions she made. But I knew in my heart that everything she did was for me. She is the family that loves me the most in this world. She lives for hatred and lives for me. If there is a ray of light in her life, it is me. Lu Chaoge remained extremely calm from beginning to end. There was no panic, no tears, and there was not even a hint of a breakdown on her face. However, Fang Yen could feel the despair from the depths of her bones. "In this world, she is my only family," Lu Chaoge said in a hoarse voice. "Auntie will be fine." Fang Yen looked at the electrocardiogram and said, "Her heartbeat is weak, but not chaotic. Her breathing is rapid, but there is not much noise. The doctor is trying to save her, and they are using very good medicine. There shouldn't be a problem." "I'm sorry to invite you here at this time," Lu Chaoge said. "But I'm really scared. I'm afraid that if Auntie is really gone, I won't be able to hold on alone. I don't know who to find to help me share the burden. I just need to talk to her, but there is no one. All these years, I really haven't made a single friend. Not a single one. It's not your fault. If I were in your position, I'm afraid I would have depression a long time ago," Fang Yen said. Lu Chaoge lived in the Jiang family since she was a child. She was wary of the Jiang family and had a deep hatred in her heart. Even an outstanding adult would find it difficult to bear such a huge pressure. However, she managed to pull through. In such an environment, How could she still have the mood to make friends? She was afraid that she couldn't help but pour out her heart. She was even more afraid that the people she regarded as friends would betray her. If that happened, what awaited her would be a devastating blow. She knew too well what kind of people the Jiang father and son were. They were the most ferocious carnivorous beasts in the world. Fang Yen reached out to hold Lu Chaoga's hand and said, "You don't need to apologize. Shouldn't a friend stand behind you at this time? I've already asked for leave and will stay here with you. I'll leave when Auntie is out of danger. I owe you too much. You've also paid me back a lot. I'm a billionaire now," Fang Yen deliberately teased, trying to divert Lu Chaoga's attention. The doctor injected the small bottle of medicine into the large bottle and watched it flow into the patient's body. Then, he took off his gloves and walked towards Lu Chaoga. "The patient's condition is very critical." When he was sent here, he was already in shock. "If we were a few minutes late, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to save him. The patient's body is so weak. Why not stay in the hospital for treatment?" "I'll think about it," Lu Chaoga said. "The patient will wake up in a while. When she calms down, you can talk to her for a while. But try not to disturb her rest." "Thank you, doctor. This is what I should do." The doctor smiled at Lu Chaoga and nodded at Fang Yen before walking out of the ward. Fang Yen looked at Lu Chaoga and said, "Auntie doesn't want to stay in the hospital?" "She doesn't want to. She doesn't even want to leave her study," Lu Chaoga said. "Recently, her mental state has been getting worse. Ever since the willow tree injured her, her body still hasn't recovered. The anger in her heart has been released," Fang Yen said. "She's been hating for decades and preparing for decades just to take down those murderers and take back what your father left for you. Now that you've retreated from Longtu Group and used the Rubik's Cube to establish Chaoyan technology, the tension in her heart has been loosened, so her mental state has collapsed. When her mental state collapses, her body's recovery will be slow. I've tried to persuade her many times. I hope she can stay in the hospital for treatment. But she said that she was a strange person, a savage who should have died a long time ago. She said that she didn't want to go to the hospital and embarrass herself. She wanted to die quietly in her own study, in a place where the sun didn't shine." Lu Zhaoga looked at his aunt, who was as thin as a stick, and said, "This time, I must convince her to stay in the hospital. Auntie has already set her heart. I'm afraid it won't be easy to persuade her," Fang Yen said. Lu Chaoga frowned and asked, "What do you have in mind?" "She lacks a target, or should I say, an enemy." "Yes. She lacks an enemy," Fang Yen said. "We'll help her find an enemy." "Zhaoga," a faint voice came. Lu Chaoga quickly walked to the bed and held her aunt's hand. She leaned her face against her aunt's head and asked, "Auntie, you're awake?" "Take that thing off my mouth," she said softly. "Auntie, rest well." Lu Chaoga didn't dare to take off the oxygen mask. She was worried that her aunt wouldn't be able to breathe without oxygen. "Take it off," Auntie insisted. Lu Chaoga looked at the nurse next to her. The nurse thought about it and said, "Then take it off. She wants to talk to you." The nurse went up to help and took the oxygen mask off her aunt's nose. Auntie opened her eyes and looked at Lu Chaoga. When she saw Fang Yen standing behind Lu Chaoga, she smiled and said, "You're here. Good. Auntie, rest well. We'll talk when you're better," Fang Yen said with a smile. "If I don't say it now, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to in the future. Zhaoga is smart and tough. I trust her," Auntie said weakly. "The only thing I'm worried about is that she has a cold personality and doesn't know how to get along with others. If I'm no longer here, she'll be all alone in this world. I've experienced that before. It's too pitiful. Why would I?" Fang Yen said with a smile. "Headmistress Lu is very popular at school. Many students like her, and they've even given her a nickname, Goddess Headmistress. She's also the dream girl of all the male teachers. Why wouldn't anyone like her?" Little Aunt smiled and shook her head. That yellow and tattered face that could give people nightmares actually gave people a warm and kind feeling at this moment. Her voice was hoarse, but Fang Yen could feel her joy. She said, "I don't believe that you didn't come. Now that you're here, I believe it." Auntie looked at Fang Yen and said, "She's a poor child, and God owes her too much. I wanted to make it up to her before, but I don't have the chance now. So, I hope you can help me and stay by her side in my place." Worried that Fang Yen wouldn't agree, Auntie explained, "I know I'm asking too much and I'm forcing you. But just like how she called you when I was sick, I can only come to you, because you're the only man we can rely on." Auntie reached out to grab Fang Yan's hand and said anxiously, "Promise me." Before she could finish her sentence, the arm that she had raised fell down powerlessly. Auntie was gone. Chapter 3:16. Youngest aunt left. She left suddenly and naturally. The fire when she was young destroyed her bodily functions. Her hair, skin, flesh, bones, and internal organs were all seriously damaged. She could hold on until now only because of the hatred in her heart and the expensive medicine provided by the Lu family to help prolong her life. Because of Fang Yan's intervention, they defeated the Lu family's devouring and tore a big piece of fat out of Longtu group. Now Lu Chaoga cooperated with the Qin family, and also united with the Lan family and the Lu family to carry out distribution channels. Her business was thriving, and it was just a matter of time before she surpassed Longtu. The strength in her heart dissipated, and her physical condition plummeted. She could no longer stand up. When Fang Yen felt her pulse for the first time, he knew that the problem was serious, but he couldn't bear to tell the truth to Lu Chaoga. After prescribing the medicine, he didn't even dare to visit youngest aunt again. There was no mourning hall, no memorial service, not even an obituary notice. Because, except for Fang Yen, Lu Chaoga really couldn't think of anyone else to tell to say goodbye to the body. Youngest aunt's body was cremated in Mayan Hospital, and the body became a pot of ashes. All the procedures were run by Fang Yen, and everything was done by Fang Yen. Lu Chaoga didn't say a word, didn't express any attitude, and let Fang Yen take full responsibility. Choosing the day, buying the tomb, making the stone tablet, and finally burying the body, Fang Yen worked hard alone. When the coffin was closed, when the workers painted the tomb wall, the funeral was finished. For a job, it was trivial and tedious, but for a life to death, it was extremely simple. Lu Chaoga stood in front of the tomb, her eyes red, and her body as straight as a spear. She didn't say a word or eat anything for 2 days. Under Fang Yan's pressure, she drank a glass of juice and a few mouthfuls of water. There were no tears, no sadness, and she was as cold as a genetic person. However, the more she was like this, the more worried Fang Yen was. For the current Lu Xiaoga, he probably wouldn't even be able to cry, right? As the winter deepened, the sky turned gray. Everyone's gloomy mood was once again covered by a thick layer of dust. Lu Chaoga, who was standing in the depths of the graveyard, looked lonely and pitiful. There was a stark contrast between the rows of dead people and the living. There was a small white flower embroidered on the black suit jacket. The white flower rustled in the wind as if it could fly away at any time. In the end, the little flower was still unwilling to be bound. Just as it was about to be blown away by the wind, Lu Chaoga struck like lightning. Then, she held the little flower in her palm. Fang Yen knew that Lu Chaoga did not know martial arts, but in that instant, her speed was unbelievably fast. Fang Yen walked behind Lu Chaoga and said, "Auntie has already been laid to rest. Let's not disturb her. Let her rest well. It's going to rain. Let's go back." Lu Chaoga did not respond. She held the white flower tightly in her palm, as if she was holding the most precious thing in her hand. "Why don't you cry for a while, then we'll go back," Fang Yen persuaded. "I heard that it's inauspicious if no one cries when the elderly pass away, and the elderly also feel that they have lost face. not knowing whether it was because Lu Chaoga's emotions had reached the extreme and caused her to break down, or because she heard Fang Yan's persuasion. She was worried that her auntie would be looked down upon after she passed away. Wah! Lu Chaoga really cried. She couldn't stop crying. She cried her heart out. She cried hysterically. She cried until the cuckoo was bleeding. She cried until she was about to stop breathing. Her body was no longer straight. She could not stand steadily. She simply sat down in front of the tombstone, trying to vent all the grievances and grief in her heart. Not only the death of her auntie, but also the death of her father, mother, the disaster that happened to her family, the extremely depressed life when she was a child, the danger in her enemy's house, and the intimate battle of wits and courage that she pretended to not know anything. From a girl to a woman, she was really too tired in the past 20 years. Perhaps the heavens were infected by her sadness. The gray clouds began to roll, and the cold wind began to howl. There was no brewing of rain, no warning of the first drop of rain. Suddenly, the downpour poured down, making it impossible to avoid, impossible to guard against. The crying was loud, and the wind and rain were wild. The sky was dark, and the heart of the loved ones was broken. After venting her anger, it was easy to fall sick after being hit by the cold wind and rain. Fang Yan did not dare to let Lu Chaoga go on like this. He hurriedly rushed over and picked her up from the ground, running towards the car in the distance. Lu Chaoga was still sick. Her fever was 39 degrees, 40 degrees, 41 degrees. Her body was burning like a stove of charcoal, and Fang Yan tried his best to help her reduce the fever. She was also talking nonsense, saying some things that she had never said in front of others. She shouted, "Mom, where are you? Mom, why haven't you come to pick me up? School has already ended," she shouted. "Dad, don't hide, I saw you," she cried while talking nonsense. Her body twisted and rolled, she punched and kicked, and even bit with her teeth. The wind and rain stopped, and a rare round moon appeared in the sky. Fang Yan sat on the bed, and Lu Chaoga finally fell asleep. Lu Chaoga's fever finally subsided after the combination of medicine and physical cooling. Fang Yan did not sleep for the entire night. His heart felt like it was weighed down by a heavy rock. This strong, intelligent, and even cruel woman, from now on, she would have no relatives in this world, right? Just as she said, she had accepted the fate of being an orphan. It was unknown how much tears and courage it took to make such a decision. But, her aunt came out again. She clung to it like a life-saving straw, but God was joking with her. They didn't even have time to get along well, they couldn't communicate normally, she couldn't accompany her all day, and she couldn't take care of her when she was old. She left. The saddest thing was not the despair at the beginning, but giving you hope, and then taking it away without warning. Still leaning on the sleepless night, watching the stars in the sky, still hearing the violin sobbing and teasing, "Why is there only a crescent moon in my sky after this night? There is no news, people are like the bright moon in the sky, they can't have." Fang Yan hummed a song softly. It was one of the songs he didn't know how to sing. He didn't know why he suddenly thought of it, and he sang it so naturally. Maybe it was a sweet dream, or maybe it was because she heard Fang Yan's song. Lu Chaoga's frowning brows slowly relaxed, and her face became peaceful. When Lu Chaoga opened her eyes, the room was dark. When she saw a ray of light in the corner of the window, she realized that the sky was already bright, but the curtains were too effective. There was a slight noise outside, and the smell of cooked corn came in. She stared at the ceiling, quietly enjoying this moment of peace and happiness. Only when someone is with you is home, living alone can only be called a house. The door of the room was gently pushed open, Fang Yan tiptoed in, and happened to meet Lu Chaoga's eyes. Fang Yan was a bit embarrassed and said, "I came in to see if you're awake." He walked to Lu Chaoga's bedside, touched her forehead with the back of his hand, and said, "The fever is gone, I gave you some anti-inflammatory medicine, it shouldn't relapse." He then walked to the window and pulled the curtains, and the curtains automatically closed. Fang Yan said with a smile, Last night, I tried my best to pull the curtains, then I realized that they would close by themselves with a light touch. They're electric, these things are too advanced, I've never seen them before. Lu Chaoga didn't laugh, she just quietly looked at Fang Yan. She watched him walk over with a smile on his face, watched him touch her forehead with the back of his hand, watched him close the curtains, watched him tell jokes that weren't funny. Fang Yan saw Lu Chaoga's dull expression, so he walked over and asked worriedly, "Are you okay? Do you feel uncomfortable?" Lu Chaoga stared at Fang Yan with wide eyes and called out, "Fang Yan, you know who I am, which means you haven't lost your mind from the fever," Fang Yan said with a smile. "How do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? I've made you some corn porridge. Get up and eat something, then drink the medicine I've made. Your body is too weak, you need to eat a few tonics to replenish your vitality." Fang Yan. Lu Chaoga called Fang Yan's name again. Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoga and said, "Go ahead, I'm listening. I'm listening very seriously." "Auntie has left." "Yes," Fang Yan nodded. "Gone. In this world, I don't have a family anymore," Lu Chaoga said. "When I'm sad, I don't know who to talk to. When I'm happy, I don't know who to share it with. Even if I make Chaoyan technology the world's #1, I don't even know who I'm trying to prove my ability to. I don't know what's the point of living." Fang Yan was anxious and shouted sternly, "Lu Chaoga, I'm warning you, don't let your imagination run wild. Auntie is gone, but you still have me, Rosefinch, Rosefinch's students, your colleagues at Chaoyan Technology, and your career. When you're sad, you can talk to me, and when you're happy, you can share it with me. Chaoyan Technology is your career, and it's also my career. If you make it the first in your career, you'll help me make it the first in my career. You'll prove your ability to the world and also prove my ability to me. So, you must live. You must live well." Lu Chaoga nodded and said, "When I'm sad, I'll talk to you, and when I'm happy, I'll share it with you. I'll help you make Chaoyan Technology the world's #1. Is the corn porridge ready? I smell it." Lu Chaoga got up from the bed and walked to the bathroom in her slippers. Fang Yan stood there in a daze. Something seemed wrong. Chapter 317. Fang Yan's cooking skills were average, but he was good at making porridge. Of course, this was also because he didn't have a better comparison. Lu Chaoga drank 2 bowls of thick corn porridge in a row, not even touching the appetizers that Fang Yan had carefully prepared. After 2 bowls of porridge, Lu Chaoga's pale face became a bit rosier. She wiped her mouth with a napkin and said, "When you're done, I have something to talk to you about. Go ahead, I'll listen as I eat, just treat it as a side dish," Fang Yan said. "I want revenge," Lu Chaoga said. "What?" Fang Yan put down the bowl of porridge in his hand and asked aloud. "I want revenge," Lu Chaoga said again. Her face was calm and her tone was cold. It seemed that she had already made up her mind. "Revenge against who?" "Auntie died early because of the car accident and the fire after the car accident. Otherwise, Auntie would have a completely different life. She was a very talented energy expert, maybe she could have gotten more results in the energy field. She was very beautiful when she was young, there would have been many excellent men who liked her. If she had found a man she liked and married, her child would be about the same age as me by now. But, her life became like this. Because of the death of my parents, because of the change in our family, her entire life was ruined. Her body was burned, her face was burned to a tattered state, and there was nothing else in her life except hatred. Her only motivation in life was revenge. And my father, they were killed when they were traveling abroad. Many things that happened later proved that it was a murder. Someone didn't want them to come back, so they bribed a hitman to keep them here. Should I just let them die in a foreign land? Let them die with everlasting regret? What do you want to do?" Fang Yan asked in a low voice. "All these years, I've been running and retreating, because I don't have the ability, because I'm not strong enough to fight against them. At that time, I only wanted to live, because only by living would I have a chance, and only by living could I avenge them. I survived, and I'm doing pretty well now. Although Chaoyan Technology is a new technology company, because we have our own technology, our products are unique in the world. We are working with the best companies in the world. I am confident that we can help them surpass Long2 in 2 years or even less. We will make them the number 1 in Huaqing and Huaxia. I don't want to wait any longer. I can't wait any longer. I want revenge. I want to declare war on the Jiang family. No negotiations, no apologies, no bargaining for compensation. I just want blood for blood. Lu Zhaoga's words were resolute and decisive, powerful and resonating. Her body was still weak, but her soul was incomparably tough. She sat there quietly. Her huge aura spread to the surroundings, making it difficult for people to breathe and make their hearts beat faster. It made people's hair stand on end. She wanted to kill someone. Fang Yen was silent for a long time. He looked at Lu Chaoga with a straight face and said, "I understand what you mean, and I can also understand your feelings. I can't persuade you, I'm in no position to persuade you. If it was my family that encountered such a thing, I might become even more stubborn and crazy than you. A woman who wants to avenge her parents and aunt, am I supposed to hold her hand and tell her to make peace? I don't believe in God, and forgiveness is what God should do. But what I want to say is, I don't want to see you become a slave to hatred. I don't want you to become a second aunt. She did a lot of things that she shouldn't have done even though she had no choice. I hope you can remain rational, and I even hope you can maintain a kind heart. You are still Lu Chaoga, the previous Lu Chaoga." The killing intent in Lu Chaoga's eyes dissipated. She looked at Fang Yen with a gentle voice and said, "I'll listen to you." Fang Yen stood by the roadside and waited for half an hour. After failing to successfully stop a taxi, he began to wonder if he should buy a car in Huaqing. Although the traffic jam during rush hour was like constipation, at least he was constipated in the car instead of standing by the roadside and watching others constipated. Moreover, he also had to absorb a large amount of exhaust gas from the car. It was much better. Why should he breathe in the exhaust gas emitted by others? Fang Yen even missed Baldy's battery-powered car. It felt very dangerous when he sat on it, but Baldy was right about one thing. They didn't have to worry about traffic jams. The final exams were getting closer and closer, and the students' enthusiasm for learning was getting higher and higher. Last time, Fang Yen made a bet with Zhang Yu, the language teacher of Class 1, that Class 9 would beat Class 1 and become the first in the class. This time, they had to face the battle of revenge against Class 1, and the other classes were also scrambling to surpass them. The students of Class 9 were facing great pressure. Last time, they had surpassed Class 1, and they didn't want their first place to be taken away again after such a short period of time. Previously, there were many chores, so Fang Yen repeatedly applied for leave. Several language classes were taught by the school administration office on behalf of other language teachers. In the last month, Fang Yen put all his attention on the students of Class 9. Even the students wanted to win the championship again and get better result. How could he, the homeroom teacher and language teacher, drag his students down? At the end of the last class, when Fang Yen was carrying his books and preparing to end class, a student in the classroom suddenly asked, "Mr. Fang, what if we can't surpass Class 1 in this exam?" Fang Yen retracted his steps and looked at the smiling students below the stage. He said, "Then we'll wait until next time to surpass them." "What if we can't surpass them next time? Your life has just begun. You still have a lifetime left," Fang Yen said. "You can use it to surpass your opponents, and you can also do what you like. Here, I never judge heroes by their result." The students applauded happily. They felt that Teacher Fang Yen was the greatest, kindest, and most understanding teacher in the world. He was also a teacher with great wisdom. Then how do you judge heroes? Someone asked. Success or failure? In the midst of everyone's anticipation and apprehension, the final exam finally ended. Class 9 obtained first place in the language subjects of Rosefinch High School and first place in the whole of Huaqing. Overall, they ranked second in Rosefinch High School and top 10 in Huaqing. This was a miracle for a class that could only be considered average in the past. Even Zhang Xiaofeng was wild with joy when he received the city's ranking list. He personally called Fang Yen to congratulate him. He also said that Fang Yan's Fang family teaching method would be promoted to the whole school after the new year. This time, no one could deny Fang Yan's ability and results just because he was young. Because of his participation, the students' enthusiasm for learning was increased. They were the practitioners of language knowledge, and their enthusiasm for learning other subjects was also in the forefront of the whole school. Many teachers said that the students of Class 9 were easier to teach than the students of other classes. Their ability to understand was especially strong, and the way they thought about problems was very unique. When the school held a commendation ceremony, Principal Zhang Xiaofeng requested Fang Yen to speak at the ceremony, but Fang Yen rejected. Therefore, everyone praised Fang Yen for his noble character and unquestionable integrity. He was not arrogant or complacent with his results, and was a humble and low-key good teacher. Fang Yen did not participate in the school's commendation ceremony. Instead, he chose to go shopping with Lu Chaoga. It should be said that Lu Chaoga helped him make the choice. Because Lu Chaoga was on the board of directors of Rosefinch High School, she had the power to appoint people in the school. Even the principal could be persuaded with a word. Most importantly, when his aunt left, Fang Yen promised her that she could talk to him when she was unhappy, and share with him when she was happy. Therefore, during this period of time, Lu Chaoga was happy 5 times, and unhappy 11 times. This time, Fang Yen did not ask Lu Chaoga if she wanted to talk or share. Anyway, he just needed to be by her side. Lu Chaoga drove and parked the car at the biggest and most luxurious Oriental shopping mall in Huaqing. Then, she brought Fang Yen into the Oriental shopping mall. "What are we buying?" Fang Yen asked. "A gift." "What gift? Aren't you going home for the spring festival?" "We have to bring some gifts back," Lu Chaoga said. She took out a piece of paper from her pocket. It was filled with beautiful handwriting and said, "I've already picked out the gift. I'm going to buy some paintings by Zhang Xinjie for your dad. You said that he likes paintings, and Zhang Xinjie's fame is just starting to rise, but his painting skills are amazing and worth collecting. I'm going to buy a few boxes of essential oils for your mom. It can protect her body and skin when she showers. I don't need to care about Grandpa's gift. You said that you prepared some ambergris for him, and the old drunkard, Uncle Imo, I've already asked someone to get him a few bottles of Maotai liquor from when the Maotai liquor factory was first established. It's very rare now," Fang Yen sighed softly. She remembered everything he said. She didn't forget any of her family members. "Actually, there's no need to go through so much trouble," Fang Yen said. "It's not troublesome, it's just a bit of filial piety. It's something I've always wanted to do, but I never had the chance. When I thought I had the chance to do it, the heavens took it away," Lu Chaoga said with a sad expression. She then thought about her aunt's departure. Fang Yen hurriedly said, "All right, I'll listen to you. Oh yeah, I still have 2 aunts and a little nephew." When Fang Yen and Lu Chaoga were looking for an essential oil store in the mall, they bumped into Jiang Zhulu, who was walking out of an international luxury clothing store. Fang Yen and Jiang Zhulu's eyes met, then they pointed at each other and laughed. Chapter 3:18. Do you like the campus bell? No, I don't. Do you like the campus bell? Why would I like a flat-chested woman? Downstairs from the campus bell's dorm, Two brothers holding roses miraculously met, then pointed at each other and laughed. Everything was said without words. Fang Yen and Jiang Zhulio's laughter contained this meaning. Jiang Zhulu looked at Fang Yen with a smile and said, "I suspected that you two were having an affair, but you didn't want to admit it. Now I've caught you red-handed, haven't I? Previously you said that the woman you liked the most was Lu Zhaoge. You also said that she was your heart, your liver, the air you breathed, and the ground under your feet. In the blink of an eye, you are holding hands with another woman and going shopping?" Fang Yen glanced at the woman who was holding onto Jiang Zhulio's arm. He was a little puzzled. This woman looked a little familiar. Jiang Zhulio's smile didn't change, and he said in a gentle and sincere voice, "I did say that. Not only me, but my parents also firmly believed that Lu Zhaoge and I would become an enviable couple, and that we would be together in the end. It's just that Zhaoge misunderstood my family too much, and I wasn't charming enough to win her heart. So, I could only regretfully give up on this relationship. Zhaoge is a good woman, and you're a lucky guy. I don't want to, but I still have to congratulate you." Looking at Lu Zhaoge, who was standing behind Fang Yen, Jiang Zhulu took the initiative to greet her. "Zhaoge, how have you been?" "Not very good," Lu Zhaoge said coldly. She knew the Jiang father and son. They pretended to be gentlemen, but deep down they were man-eating wolves. She didn't even have the slightest interest in brushing off such a beast in human clothing. "You've lost some weight. You need to drink more soup," Jiang Zhulu said with concern. He looked at Fang Yen and said, "I've always treated Zhaoge as my family. You can't let her suffer. Otherwise, I won't let you go." "Of course not." Fang Yen nodded seriously. "You, who treated her like family, made her suffer a lot. She scolded you and your father in her nightmares at night." The smile on Jiang Zhulio's face gradually faded. This guy really didn't know how to chat. Who would directly slap someone in the face like that? "But you don't have to worry about it." Fang Yen comforted her. "Scolding won't hurt you, and it won't shorten your lifespan. Even if she scolds you, you and your dad will still be healthy and active. You can still go shopping with a beautiful and sexy girl in your arms. You won't be affected at all. Don't you think so? I've long heard that Mr. Fang has a sharp tongue. Now that I've seen him today, he lives up to his reputation." Jiang Zhulio's female companion mocked him. However, men with sharp mouths don't have any great achievements. Men who are unknown to the public are able to make people's hearts move when they amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Mr. Fang, please be careful with your words. I'm already the most outstanding language teacher in our school at such a young age. Why don't I have any great achievements? Fang Yan's gaze shifted to her face and he said, "Miss, if I remember correctly, we've met before?" "At the entrance of Maya Hospital," the woman said. "I remember now." Fang Yan smiled and said, "Miss, your sports car was too fast. I didn't have time to thank you." "It was nothing," the woman said. She was the beautiful woman who had swiped her black card at Maya Hospital and pleaded for Fang Yan to let Fang Yan in. At that time, she was wearing a pair of sunglasses that covered half of her face. Her burgundy hair was slightly curled, but today, it was tied up on top of her head in a more dignified manner. Fang Yan only felt that she looked familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen her before. What was her relationship with Jiang Zhulu? "My fiancé is Jiang Shangxin," Jiang Zhulu introduced politely. "We're getting engaged in 2 days. Both of you can come to our engagement party if you have time. We'll send you an invitation then." "Jiang Shangxin?" Fang Yan's eyes narrowed. He smiled and said, "Just from the name, I thought that it had something to do with an idiot named Jiang Junling that I know. However, Miss Jiang Shangxin is so smart and kind. You wouldn't know such a jerk, right?" As Shangxin knitted her eyebrows, there was already a hint of anger on her face. She said, "The idiot called General Ling that you are talking about is my cousin." "You guys know each other?" Fang Yen was shocked. I'm really sorry. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have told you the truth. Actually, he's not as bad as I said. Although he's a little stupid, his looks are average. It seems like we can't see eye to eye. Jiang Zhulu wrapped his arms around Jiang Shangxin's waist and said, "See you again if fate allows it." Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yan thoughtfully and the two of them turned to leave. Looking at their backs, Fang Yan sighed softly and said, "Didn't you say that you wanted to declare war on the Jiang family and take revenge on them? Why didn't you say so just now?" "I'm going to tell them after I defeat them," Lu Chaoga said. "The Jiang family is starting to retaliate. We've roped in the Gu family and allied with the Lu family. The Jiang family feels that the situation isn't good. They have less and less space to move around in Huaqing, so they chose to form a marriage alliance with the Jiang family. Since ancient times, forming a marriage alliance has never been a good move. However, it's the Jiang family's only lifeline now." Lu Chaoga analyzed and said. Fang Yan sneered and said, "It's natural for the Jiang family to seek help when they sense danger. Qiang Long Tan would be too disappointing if they remain indifferent under such a situation. However, why did the Jiang family want to form a marriage alliance with them? The Jiang family won't sense any danger, so who can threaten them? They're not resigned to it." Lu Chaoga said, "Perhaps they still want to plant a chess piece in Huaqing. It seems like we should meet with our close partner again. Perhaps we can get some answers from him," Fang Yan said. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan and said, "I'll go buy some things. You go talk to him." Fang Yan knew that Lu Chaoga didn't like to see him. If he had a choice, Fang Yan wouldn't want to see him either. He was ugly and had a vicious heart. This kind of person was filled with negative energy. After meeting him, people's moods would be in a gloomy state for a long time. Because they had coincidentally met Jiang Zhulu, the two of them had to split their things as soon as they entered the mall. Lu Chaoga continued to buy things with a small piece of paper, while Fang Yan took out his phone and made a call. "I know a tea house that serves pretty good pu'er tea," Fang Yan said to the other end of the phone. Cool Breeze Tea House. After Duan Yujun personally brewed tea for the guests, he greeted Fang Yan and quietly left the room. Fang Yan looked at Lu Shu, who was sitting opposite him, and said, "There are no outsiders now. Take off that mask on your face. Aren't you afraid of getting heat rash?" "I thought you wouldn't like my face," Lu Shu said with a smile. As he spoke, he reached out to take off the wolf mask and put it on the table. Thus, his face, which was crisscrossed with countless wounds, was exposed in front of Fang Yan. Fang Yan held the teacup and drank tea, admiring the net-like pattern on his face, and said, "Do you think I'll feel guilty? I won't. Based on what you've done, even if you're hacked into pieces, I'll still give you a discount. This is what you deserve. I'm just getting rid of evil for the people. To tell you the truth, I'm not afraid of looking at it. I like looking at it because it gives me a sense of accomplishment. Recently, my saber skills have improved again. Do you want me to try it on other parts of your body?" "Not at the moment. Then I'll let Jiang Zhulu have it." Fang Yan had a look of, "I feel sorry for you. I saw him just now. He was shopping with a little beauty. She looked even better than the last time we met. People who don't know you will definitely think that you're a good person," Lu Shu said with a strange smile. "But, after getting to know you, they'll know that you're much more vicious than us. We still care about decency, but you don't care about anything. If you say that, I'll take it as a compliment," Fang Yan said with a smile. "But, the biggest difference between me and you guys is that I'm on the side of justice. Think about it, when did I ever take the initiative to harm others? When have I ever forcefully taken someone else's things for my own benefit? I didn't, right? Who doesn't rob others of their wealth? If you can't protect it, I'll help you protect it. It's a very normal thing. I don't care about other people. I'm not trying to protect other people. I just happened to know Lu Chaoga and you just happened to fall into my hands. I can only say that you're unlucky. Maybe it's a little stupid to say this, but I really want to know whose hands you'll fall into, Lu Shu said. They all say that you've never lost before, but I don't believe them. How can a person never lose in his entire life? So, I have to try my best to live. I want to see who will win in the end. Then, I wish you a long life, Fang Yan said. Do you know that Jiang Zhulu is getting engaged? I've already received the invitation, Lu Shu said. Jiang Shangxin is a core member of the Jiang family. Jiang Shangxin's father is Jiang Junling's uncle. Of course, this uncle isn't his father's biological brother. The Jiang family seems to want to warn Huaqing by marrying her to Jiang Zhulu. I'm protecting this family, so don't act rashly. It can't be that simple, right? Fang Yan said with a smile. Of course, Lu Shu said. What's the Jiang family? To a wealthy family like the Jiang family, they'll just kick away a useless dog. They're helping the Jiang family to be a nail in their coffin. As long as the Jiang family doesn't fall in Huaqing, they'll have a chance eventually. Their target is the Rubik's Cube? It can only be the Rubik's Cube. Now everyone is staring at the Rubik's Cube. Lu Shu grinned. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.